Years of unfiled tax returns. There's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-324-0231 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-324-0231 for your free consultation and to see if you qualify. That's 800-324-0231.
So let's talk about STS Armory. You can call them at 618-931-GUNS. That's 618-931-4867. They are located in Pontoon Beach. This is where I shop for my firearms. This is where you can go to sign up for their amazing classes, the educational classes that you need to potentially get your conceal and carry. If you are looking to conceal and carry in Illinois, they have a lot of rules over there in the state of Illinois that you need to follow. STS can navigate you through that whole process and make you very comfortable and confident in your ability to conceal and carry a weapon while you move about the state. I want you to understand how well Katie and Jesse know the whole business, the business of selling firearms, what is legal today, what isn't legal today, because those laws seem to be changing all of the time, but also their ability to educate people of all ages, feel comfortable and confident being in a place that is around firearms, managing firearms, handling them, concealing them, all on a law-abiding way. You need the information, the education that STS Armory has, and it's all right there for you to check out. You can go to sts-armory.com or call 618-931-GUNS, 618-931-GUNS, STS in Pontoon Beach, Illinois, online at sts-armory.com.
There are over 10,000 reasons why steel is not sold at Lowe's or the Home Depot. Find tools for the job site or your own backyard at over 10,000 authorized local steel dealers. Find yours at steelusa.com.
Want immediate cash for your home or see what your home is really worth in today's market? Find out for free from the local experts, my friends Mark and Neil Gelman of eXp Realty. Check out thegelmanteam.com today. That's thegelmanteam.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
Before I leave for California, I want to briefly speak about what's happening in Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. Today, thanks to the quick action of my administration over the past few days, Americans can have confidence that the banking system is safe. Your deposits will be there when you need them. Small businesses across the country, the deposit accounts at these banks can breathe easier knowing they'll be able to pay their workers and pay their bills.
So President Biden speaking this morning about your confidence in the banking system. You make a deposit, it's going to be there when you need that money. He didn't really take any questions on this after he left. And I think America has quite a few questions regarding what is going on with our economy, with the banking system. We hope to speak with Steve Moore at 1:05, and we're going to listen to what he has to say on this issue and give us some feedback on what took place and what that might mean for you. Here's Congressman Khanna.
They have the assets. They don't have the liquidity. What happened is they had these long-term Treasury bonds, and then the Fed hiked interest rates very, very fast. Mm-hmm. We can debate the wisdom of that, and they were. This was the cause. Those assets still have value. We need the liquidity. Now there may have been mismanagement, and we can get into that. But right now, the key thing is for the depositors to have access to those accounts.
So there's a Democrat, and I'll tell you, he's a Democrat I respect. He's the one person who popped up in the Twitter files emails that were exposed. Ro Khanna of California. He's the one person who came up and said to Twitter, hey, this is looking like this is the way you're censoring people, that this is not on the up and up, that you can't do this. This is okay. And Twitter responds, oh, we assure you it's 100% within the policies of Twitter. And Ro Khanna's like, I'm talking about the First Amendment that maybe trumps your policies. Good for Ro Khanna for doing that, because he did it on the down low when nobody was looking. Granted, as a Democrat pushing back against censoring of conservatives, maybe he didn't think anyone would ever see. Here's Republican James Comer.
Well, look, this is something that I worry could be a trend. Usually when one bank goes down, more banks go down. And what we've seen early on from articles I've read in the Wall Street Journal and other financial publications is they invested a lot of cash that I would assume they had from things like the PPP loan, government policy, and they invested it in bonds. And then because the Democrats spent too much money in all their stimulus, the bonds go down when interest rates go up. The Fed had to raise interest rates to combat the Democrat inflation. And then we see now coming out that they were one of the most woke banks in their quest for the ESG type policy and investing. This could be a trend, and there are consequences for bad Democrat policy. And I think we need to keep an eye on all the banking sector right now.
So Congressman Comer talking about some of the behaviors of this bank. Now, this is a very frustrating thing for me politically to watch take place. And we have seen this front row seat. You don't have to be well versed in the ways of history and of all things, generational banking economic issues. You can look in your own rearview mirror and see what happens when the policies, the conservative economic policies of, say, Donald Trump, who did spend too much money before you throw that at me. I know that he spent too much money. I get that. I would like to conserve spending as a conservative for sure. So you look at the conservative policies that come in where in a capitalistic society that Americans should have control over their own economy, their own market. They can make decisions for themselves based on what products they're going to buy, what services they're going to use, based on a whole host of issues. And how you make your purchasing decisions and how I make my purchasing decisions might not be the same. You might be in a position to spend a little bit more money to support a business whose values maybe align with yours. Maybe it's a better product that you're purchasing or a better service that you're receiving. And you might be able to spend a little bit more money to get that. Other people are not in the position to spend their dollars in a way that is virtuous. They necessarily need to acquire a service. They need a plumber. They can only afford this budget for a plumber, so they get the plumber that they get. That's the way it works in a capitalistic society. If plumbers are out there and they're pricing themselves out and they are demanding too much for their service and people are choosing to go elsewhere, they're either going to go out of business or have to adjust their prices so that they can be competitive in the marketplace when that person needs a plumber, whether it's somebody who has the amount of money to spend or has to make a choice based on a specific budget. Regardless, in America, that responsibility lands on you to spend your money where you see it's best used. If there's a plumber out there who, people say, well, Annie, if you've got somebody who is in a lower, more impoverished place, you've said it yourself, they can only get one kind of plumber. Well, here's the deal. If you can become a plumber who wants to compete in a market and get the business, you can offer a better service, maybe for the same entry-level price of a plumber, and then you get that business. And if you are in there and you say, okay, I'm going to lower my prices, I want to be able to serve all sorts of people, I'm going to lower my prices to be more affordable for more people, but I'm going to do a better job at plumbing than ABC plumber down the road who knows that this is the only plumber people can afford. It doesn't matter what kind of quality service. He's the best that they can get. I'm going to offer better service for a comparative price. You get that guy's business. So what does that do? That ends up creating a scenario where the person who needs that plumber at that moment, has that budget, is going to get a better quality plumber for that price that they can pay because somebody created a competitive market for competition so that people, consumers out there, are going to spend their money where it's best suiting themselves. They don't need people out there telling them this is this thing that you're going to use and this is that thing. They don't need somebody out there, the brain, the elite out there telling you exactly what you're going to buy, how you're going to buy it, whose service you're going to use. Which, if you pay attention to how government entities are run in the public sector, many times those things are all predetermined. And when they're predetermined, There's not really much room for competition because there's no choice. That's what public education is. The money is coming in. We are taking this money from the public. We are putting it towards an educated public. We want children, regardless of their income or their lot in life, we want them all to be able to be educated. High five. Let's go. I support that. But then what you do is you take that lump of money and you apply it towards only one kind of education that is determined by the state how that is going to end up unfolding. What kind of standards are going to be used, what's going to be allowed, what's not going to be allowed. All of these decisions are made in a scenario where there is no competition for those dollars that fund it. That's what school choice is. School choice says, okay, well, we believe in an educated public. We believe that it makes sense to have a collection of people come together and say, here is the funds we want to use to educate our kids. And if they're poor kids or rich kids, we think every kid deserves a quality education. But parents, you know which school is best for your kid. You care more about your kid than we could ever possibly care about your kid. Of course you do. You made them. You're raising them. Here's the money that the public believes should be invested in each kid for their education. Now go find the place where your child can thrive the most. Hard to argue with that, but ironically, people all across the country, they're arguing with it. And the bluer the state, the less likely that that child is going to be able to go to a place and be educated in a way that best suits that child. And the more protection you have within that governmental system that is fully funded, no threat to that money stream going away, that hat in hand moves in with the lobbyists, the teachers' unions that advocate. Don't get confused here. The teachers' union is not there to advocate for the students. Not at all. They're there to advocate for the teachers, as is any union for the laborers that support it. And then it goes back and forth to support. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And what ends up happening is a system that is set up for the people who are supporting it through funds. And I'm talking governmental donations by way of the unions to make sure that the right politicians get in place, and those politicians get in place to support the unions. And that just goes round and round and round. And we're all dizzy, and kids don't have choice. Going back to the comments made by James Comer about this Silicon Valley Bank, we're talking billion with a B investments in ESG policies, in green energy policies. They apparently did not have the funds to do that. If you flash back to when, like I said, recent history, our economy was booming. Our economy was on fire. And when it was on fire, Donald Trump had in very conservative policies that stoked the embers of an economy coming out of Barack Obama, which I'll tell you was a little bit on the up and up, but that's because where Barack Obama started and a lot of the policies that he put into place really held it back. Remember his 3% growth? You'd need a magic wand to make that happen. Donald Trump lit that on fire and proved him wrong. The economy is best served when it is monitored and influenced by the people, not by the government pushing buttons, pulling levers, and moving everything in the direction that they see fit, because the bigger the government, the more that the economy works to serve the government and not the people. It's the most unfortunate thing about having a good, strong, conservative economic policy in the White House, in Congress, that votes to leave the money with the people. That line item, if you've done your taxes, that line item in your paycheck that shows the money that is being taken from you to go to services that the federal, the state, the city government deems important. More important for them to spend that money than for you to spend that money. When that money stays with the people and doesn't get laundered through the government with the guise of some sort of, generous charity. A lot of Democrats, liberals out there, some of the nicest people you'll ever meet. And they believe that voting Democrat, because this is what's been sold to them, they believe that voting Democrat puts them in a position to help people, and they can afford it. Those taxes go up, they can afford it. They feel good about that. It's the laziest charity there is because that money comes out of your paycheck. It goes through the government. It pays for bureaucracy, and pennies get left behind for the people who it's supposed to help. What if you took that dollar and went right into an impoverished city near you and spent it to feed somebody? It'd go a lot further, a lot faster. When we have these conservative economic policies in place, this country flourishes. And then the worst thing happens. We're flourishing. We get spoiled. We start to dabble in things like billions of dollars being invested in ESG movements and policies. Money that you don't really have to spend towards those things. We get complacent. We look at the idea that Bernie Sanders himself can run for president as a socialist with 3 homes. The guy, listen, he wants to shake his fist at the man. Bernie Sanders is the man. Bernie Sanders is the guy who's saying government can help these people. We need to provide for these people. We need to give to these people. I need to take a big chunk from you, make the rich pay their fair share. What is a fair share? Because the air quotes rich already pay more than 50% of the taxes in this country. And it seems to me when you listen to people like a socialist, to Bernie Sanders, there's always going to be more at that well. They can always go back to that well for more. Only in America, where you have the prosperous foundation of capitalism and the free market, the power of you as a consumer, as a maker, as a provider, as a worker, as a doer, you are the engine that runs this country. And only in a prosperous country like this, where we can talk about the enormous wealth of the United States of America, where did that wealth come from? The enormous wealth, when a Bernie Sanders comes in the door and starts talking about how people need to pay their fair share, he wants to shake his fist at the man, the big government, or the big business. He gets to replace big business, the big, scary rich guy, with a new man. And that new man is big government. And ironically, the guy who sees a big problem with the man and wants to support the little guy wants to be in charge of the man. Doesn't that make you scratch your head a little bit? And if the indulgent policies of Silicon Valley Bank and their ESG policy investments and Bernie Sanders and the big government that he wants to support, that self-indulgent way of thinking, we only have the luxury to think that way in America because of how we got to be such a wealthy country. It wasn't because of policies like that, and it won't be in the future a wealthy, prosperous country if we forget how we got here. I don't think that the president did a very good job of making America feel really good and strong about the economy. I don't think that the president did a really good job of comforting Americans to say, nothing to see here, no issues, just, go about your day. He didn't stay to answer questions either. We are in a moment in time right now where we need to lean in and pay close attention to what's going on with our economy, with the world, with the way that this government infiltrates in your life and tells you how you are going to live, and in some cases, how you are going to die. If we don't pay close attention right now, I don't know, maybe we lose the whole dang thing. At 1:25, we're going to speak with Charlie Gasparino. I'm excited to have him on the show. He's with Fox Business. He's going to explain to us quickly what took place with the Silicon Valley Bank collapse. What is it? What does it mean? Break it down for us. Explain to me like I'm 5, Charlie. He's going to come on at 1:25. When we come back, Larry Klayman, who is a constitutional expert and lawyer. He's also the founder and former chairman of Judicial Watch, now in charge of Freedom Watch, is going to talk to us about the hearings from last week on the Twitter files and what Matt Taibbi has shown the country and spoken in his testimony. Larry Klayman is going to talk to us about that in just a few minutes. Don't go away. Lots to come here on the Annie Frey Show. YouTube live chat poll. Go to the Annie Frey YouTube channel. Do you believe the economy is headed for collapse? Yes or no? Go vote. Make sure you leave a comment. Hannah loves to read those at the end of the show and give us those results. We'll be back with Larry Klayman in a minute.
Nice things.
You're listening to The Annie Frey Show. Interact with Annie on Facebook. The Annie Frey Show.
AirComfortService.com is the website. If you are thinking about your air conditioner right now, gosh, it's cold outside. It was warm last week, and now it's cold again. This is the way in St. Louis. Nobody here is surprised. Your HVAC system as a whole, if it needs attention, Air Comfort Service. Again, I was talking in the previous segment there about people who provide quality service. That's Air Comfort Service. They champion themselves on the positive Google reviews, which, some people are like, Google reviews, anybody can write those. But anybody can write those. That's kind of a benefit, don't you think? Go look at the reviews of Air Comfort Service. And when you were looking to spend potentially the money that it's going to take to replace your furnace or your air conditioning unit, you don't want to have to second guess the investment you're making. This is something that's really important. Your comfort zone in your home, you want to make sure that the temperature that you want your house to be is achievable and is going to be done in a great way with the best people and the best products. Air Comfort Service provides that for you. You can reach out to them at 314-513-0091. Call 314-513-0091. You can find them online at aircomfortservice.com.
Ashley's Orange event is happening for 3 days only. Friday through Sunday only. Save 30% off store-wide. Or get 60 months no interest with no minimum purchase and no down payment. Don't miss Ashley's biggest event of the year. Shop hot deals starting at $199. Plus, shop Ashley Sleep Doorbuster mattresses. Your choice Comfort Queen mattress now only $399. Text 79975 to schedule your appointment today. Friday through Sunday only. In store at Ashley.
If you own a home in St. Louis and you want to sell it as is, without any inspections or the need to make any repairs, call Chris Buys Homes stlouis.com at 314-782-8000 and get your cash offer without any obligation, commissions, banks, or headaches. Chris buys vacant homes, inherited homes, fixer-uppers, beautiful homes, even the tenant who won't pay the rent apartment. Google us. Chris Buys Homes in St. Louis, and check out our best reviews from satisfied customers. When you sell to Chris, you decide when you want to move, according to your schedule and your terms. Go to our website, chrisbuyshomes.stlouis.com, or call Chris at 314-782-8000. That's 314-782-8000, and get the offer you've been waiting for. 314-782-8000.
How do you make every day more rewarding? You could write about your feelings. You could do sea turtle stuff. You could practice mindfulness. But how? Or you could just do what you already do with Upside, the free app that gives you real cash back wherever you roll. Like that restaurant that has those curly fries you love. Or grocery stores that have the freshest sushi, and gas stations placed perfectly on the route of your next road trip. Sometimes it's the little things. Get Upside and get cash back for doing you. Download the free Upside app and use promo code SUSHI for an extra $10 cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's promo code SUSHI for an extra $10 on the free Upside app. Get cash back for doing you with the free app from Upside.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing, together millions of things for our planet. March marks the beginning of spring, and warmer temperatures means you can do more outside. Hang your clothes outside to dry instead of using the dryer. Not only will you save electricity, but your clothes will get that fresh outdoor scent. It's also a great time to walk or bike to destinations that are close by instead of driving. When we each share our one thing, it becomes 100 things, 1,000 things, 1,000,000 things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Guns N' Roses is coming to Busch Stadium on September 9th, and every hour you log into the Odyssey app, you'll be entered to win. Between now and March 26, stream 97.1 on your device, and you could win tickets to see Guns N' Roses. You're listening to The Annie Frey Show on St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
A focus of this fast-growing network, as Mike noted, is making lists of people whose opinions, beliefs, associations, or sympathies are deemed misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation. That last term is just a euphemism for true but inconvenient. Undeniably, the making of such lists is a form of digital McCarthyism. Ordinary Americans are not just being reported to Twitter for de-amplification or deplatforming, but to firms like PayPal, digital advertisers like Xandr, and crowdfunding sites like GoFundMe. These companies can and do refuse service to law-abiding people and businesses whose only crime is falling afoul of a distant, faceless, unaccountable, algorithmic judge.
So Matt Taibbi speaking before the House Judiciary Committee last week, a lot of people paying attention to what he was saying and a lot of people still not. Matt Taibbi has released so many threads on Twitter exposing communications that took place within Twitter prior to the 2020 election. And I mean, it should be alarming to a lot of people. I want to get our next guest on here, Larry Klayman, to speak on this. He's a constitutional expert and lawyer. He has a book called It Takes a Counter-Revolution, Wake Up America. Larry Klayman with us right now. Larry, thanks for coming on the show with us.
You're welcome. My honor.
So, Larry, let me just ask you, listening to what Matt Taibbi and Schellenberger, the people who were speaking on these issues last week, what was your takeaway? What do you want America to wake up to?
America needs to wake up to everything. I'm a lawyer of 45 years, so I know what goes on. You go into court and you try to challenge these things, and the judges will protect, this leftist media and social media. I took a case all the way to the Supreme Court, and Justice Thomas said, this was a valid case. It was an antitrust case against all of big tech. But we're not going to look at it now. They are afraid to address the issue. Congress holds these dog and pony shows. That's all they are, dog and pony shows. It will continue on. Perhaps Elon Musk will change it at Twitter, but what about the other companies? So the bottom line is the American people need to rise up. That's what I write about in my new book. It takes a counter-revolution, Wake Up America. We need to enforce the rule of law ourselves, just like our founding fathers did when they took our justice system back from the king in 1776. These people need to be held accountable by the people. And I'm afraid that the court system and Congress, they just simply don't represent us anymore. So I hope people will go to freedomwatchusa.org. We need to declare a new government, not a new nation. We need to bring citizens grand juries. We need to hold these people accountable. I know I'm getting off track a little bit here, but Anthony Fauci over the weekend, and this was a concept that I had thrown out there, said, somebody asked him, do you expect to be arrested? Well, the man should be arrested. Citizens arrest. He's committed felonies. We know he's committed felonies. I don't advocate anything other than peaceful and legal means, but we're trying him now for negligent homicide. His actions resulted in the death of over 7 million people and counting with his negligence in giving this. So the answer here is, if you want to be entertained, watch Congress or watch Fox News or, read the newspaper or whatever you can. But the bottom line is the American people need to do it for themselves right now. Enough hearings. We've had enough hearings.
You talked about declaring a new government. That's a big, bold statement. What does that mean?
It means, just like our founding fathers did in 1776, we should declare independence again. We should find leaders who are ethical, who are moral. We could set up a shadow government like Charles de Gaulle did in World War II when the Nazis took over France. We don't have a government that represents us. And I'm sick and tired of, watching hearings, show hearings. Look at the January 6th hearings that they had. What a joke that was. And look at the hearings that the Republicans are now doing with regard to Hunter Biden, James Biden, and Joe Biden with the bribery. They have no power. They can't do anything because Biden controls the Justice Department. And that is the catch-22 right now, is that if the American people are sick and tired of just simply being entertained with these politicians who are a bunch of clowns, then, continue on. But if they want to change things, then they have to do something radical now. And I'm not advocating anything violent, but I'm saying we have the right to break away from this government and we should do it now. And there are people out there that will lead a shadow government. And I believe the military will support us on this because they've had it too. They've been defiled. They've been defamed.
Well, Larry Klayman, when you speak about shadow government, what does that look like to you, and how does that make the dramatic difference that you're seeking out?
Well, we have to start a groundswell quickly. But I'll give you a couple examples. There have been certain people who have been in government who have been ostracized. There are people in private industry. Elon Musk is potentially one of them. I hearken back to the book by Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, written in 1958, when she foresaw the rise of communism, where an individual named John Galt, fictitious obviously at that time, took industrialists, academics, scientists, lawyers, judges, took them out of the mainstream of what was going on in the country, and essentially allowed the country to collapse only to regain control and to get rid of the socialism and communism and exactly what we're seeing today that had crept into society, where there's no achievement, where people are not rewarded on the basis of their character or their ability, but where things are dumbed down. We have to start that dialogue right now because you can see it. The Democrats, are socialists, communists, atheists, every radical group. The Republicans, every time they've acquired power, particularly in the recent past, they haven't done anything other than raise money. They haven't balanced the budget. Now we have banks that are failing, okay, thanks to a lot of this. They never really reformed Obamacare. They never gave us the clarion call in China or in Ukraine or in Afghanistan. They're out there, the two parties, stuffing money into their pockets at the expense of the American people. And one is totally evil. The Democrats are totally evil, in my opinion, at this point. They want to destroy the country. And the Republicans sit there and they play along, just wanting to acquire power. And, and look at Trump. I mean, his own party has stabbed him in the back. He's going nowhere. You may think he's going somewhere, but he's going nowhere. And the American people need to rise up. And we need to wake up if you care about your kids and grandkids and future generations. So I hope people, I'm not just trying to push my book because I've made very little off of it, but I would urge people to read my book, It Takes a Counter-Revolution, Wake Up America. We can enforce the rule of law ourselves, and we even have the right of citizens' arrests in 48 states that exist, including California, the most left-leaning of all states. And we have the right to move on. And if people wish to challenge us, we have Second Amendment right of defense. We will not be violent. And our founding fathers, they did not declare war on the king. They declared a new nation, and the king declared war on us. That's what we need to do today, if you care about your kids and grandkids. And that's what's going on today with the failure of two major banks. It tells you where we're headed right now. Biden has all but destroyed this country, and the Republicans are playing games, raising money hand over fist.
Larry Klayman's book is It Takes a Counter-Revolution, Wake Up America. If you'd like to learn more about where Larry's coming from, you said it's freedomwatch.org. Larry, thank you for the time today. We appreciate it.
Freedomwatchusa.org.
Freedomwatchusa.org. Yep, absolutely. Larry Klayman talking about his book there. Interesting topics to, for him to throw Donald Trump in that conversation and say that he's not going anywhere. It's interesting to hear somebody coming from his perspective say that Donald Trump isn't going to be successful. I don't know. I don't know that I agree with everything you just said there, but I pay attention to where a lot of people are on these issues. And when you listen to how censorship, partnership between private government or private entities like Twitter, how they're taking marching orders from government entities, it's got to make you a little bit concerned. Michael Schellenberger last week on censorship.
Seen this censorship industry go from, well, we're just fighting ISIS to, well, we're just fighting Russian disinformation bots to, well, now we need to fight domestic misinformation, which is just saying we need to fight against people who are saying things we disagree with online. That's all that means. And I mean, it's not a slippery slope. It's an immediate leap into a terrifying mechanism that we only see in totalitarian societies of attempting to gain control over what the social media platforms are allowing. And so, for me, it starts at DHS, but we basically see almost every government agency involved in this.
So my concern with the partnership of censorship, the partnership for the case of censorship taking place in business moving in and blending with our government. This tweet from Thomas Massey, Congressman Massey this weekend, he said, just got off a Zoom meeting with the Fed, Treasury, FDIC, House, and Senate. A Democrat senator essentially asked whether there was a program in the place to censor information on social media that could lead to a run on the banks. So a Democrat senator saying, so if there's information out there that gets picked up by social media, how are we going to stop social media from moving along the process of a run on the bank? And so this reply to Thomas Massey on Twitter was, I'm as anti-censorship as it gets. This is from a guy named Rick Henshaw. I'm as anti-censorship as it gets, but spreading unfounded rumors to promote a run on a bank is one of the very few instances where the, quote, yelling fire in a crowded theater analogy actually does apply. Massey's response, what about yelling fire in a theater that's on fire? I don't understand how much trust and confidence that we as Americans are supposed to place in this government system. One of the things that Larry Klayman just said that I agree with is Republicans and Democrats alike get into office to campaign and run again to win their office back the next time the campaign season comes up. There's very little advocacy for people like you and me on the ground in the middle of America who are trying to make ends meet, who are trying to live our lives free of over control from this American government wanting to interfere in our daily lives. We just want to be free. Freedom is ours. It can only be taken. And for Thomas Massey to point out, but what about yelling fire in a theater that's actually on fire? If we're in an instance right now where the economy is teetering, and I remind you, we're going to speak with Charles Gasparino. He's a Fox Business senior correspondent. He's been on the show before to talk about the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank from last week. He's going to just explain it to us. And like I said, explain it to me like I'm 5. How do we make sure that we don't have politically influenced, government-influenced interference on a place like Twitter that interjects itself? If you open the door and you give them that key, then what happens is what took place in 2020, which is what Matt Taibbi and other people who were involved in the Twitter files were able to show America, and hence the entire world through Twitter, which is that there was a hand-in-hand workmanship taking place between what our politicians and what our United States government wanted to have happen and the influence that they have on the people at Twitter, making it so that folks like you and I can't see a story because they fear it could be Russian disinformation, talking about the Hunter story. The most interesting thing to me to come out of the whole Twitter files situation was actually more, I have a little bit, just to scratch the surface, more respect for the people at Twitter. Because I got to actually see instances where the people at Twitter pushed back and said, no, we're not going to do that. Like, we have standards. They were not the same standards that I would have, but they had standards in certain cases. And the push from the government, the predisposition to suggesting, hey, we heard, this is what the FBI told Twitter before the Hunter laptop New York Post story hit. The FBI predisposed people at Twitter to say, there's going to be a leak and dump story coming up soon, and we think it's going to have something to do with Hunter Biden. We're not 100% sure. There's going to be a leak coming up, and we expect it to come from some Russian disinfos who are going to be out there trying to persuade the election right before it happens. Just keep your eyes out. Keep your eyes peeled. They had the freaking laptop when they said that. They knew about the laptop. The laptop gets released. The story gets printed. Twitter goes, we've been told about this. The FBI said something like this was going to happen. By golly, we better stop this from happening. We don't want Russia to interfere with our elections. Are they that innocent? Probably not. Are they the only ones who are guilty? Of course not. Who's advocating for you? You need to be looking for those people right now. I think Thomas Massey is definitely one of them. Let's take a quick break. Wiggins America in studio. When we come back, don't go away.
The Annie Frey Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
So the Retirement Advisory Group, Thomas Helbig, Bob Kershaw, his wife Tammy, all get together to provide you a free opportunity to learn about protecting your retirement. When you're 59 and a half or older, you are in a position to do some important things with your retirement that maybe you don't know about. When you partner with the Retirement Advisory Group, they tell you about all these things. And at this event that's coming up Tuesday, March 21st, you get to hear about it for free, which is a no-brainer. Plus, I get the chance to meet you. I think that's pretty cool. Would you sign up and make sure that your spot is reserved? These rooms get packed. They get full. And I want to make sure that the Annie Frey Show audience packs the house in there. And I would love the opportunity to meet you. It starts at 6:30 p.m. on March 21st. That's when the event starts. I get there at about 6 o'clock and would love to meet you. And Mark Cox will be there. Mark Reardon will be there as well. Come join us and learn about how you can protect your retirement for free. And if you love what Thomas Helbig has to say, maybe you sign up with him afterwards. Maybe you don't. It's up to you. You're a grown person and can make these decisions for yourself. Tuesday, March 21st at the Frontenac Hilton, 6:30 p.m. Show up early so I can shake your hand. I would love the opportunity to meet you. You can call to reserve your spot, 314-993-9494, 314-993-9494, or you can go online as well at retirementkey.com.
Back to doing what I love and more. Thanks to the Good Feet Store.
Hi, this is Arnold, owner of the Good Feet Store. Do you have a hard time getting out of bed in the morning because of a sharp pain in your heel?
I did. I had plantar fasciitis. I had a burning sensation on the bottom of my feet. I went to the Good Feet Store, and what a relief. And now I never go without my Good Feet support.
Are your knees and back killing you by the end of the day?
It was getting so severe I almost stopped walking. I have no problems with my knees now. I couldn't believe how fast it helped me.
You deserve a better life too. Come to the Good Feet Store today.
Call 314-317-9494 or visit one of our 2 locations on Olive west of I-270 in the Plaza with Subway, or in Shiloh, Illinois across from Deerbergs.
Thanks to the Good Feet Store.
Individual results may vary. Consult your physician for medical conditions. Visit the website goodfeetstlewis.com. Pain relief and comfort to fit any budget. Come in for a free test walk today. Good Feet products are proudly made in the USA.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Are you the parent of a 2 to 7-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting free radio offer. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse, the Parents' Choice Award-winning online learning program that's actually changing the lives of early learners everywhere.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
Right now, we're offering a special radio promo to try it free for a month. But you have to go to abcmouse.com/radio to claim your free month. That's abcmouse.com/radio.
Sponsored by Age of Learning. Join Mosby Building Arts every Saturday from 12 to 1 p.m. on 97.1 FM. Rich Orse and guests give insider tips about renovations, design, construction, exteriors, and more. Tune in to Right at Home with Rich on Saturdays or catch the podcast online.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service offers insulation services. Did you know 9 out of 10 homes are under-insulated? Increase your energy savings and comfort with better insulation. For details, visit aircomfortservice.com.
Filtering the BS pushed by the mainstream media.
St. Louis is home for conservative talk.
97.1 FM Talk. You're listening to The Annie Frey Show. Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Frey Show.
Welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. Thanks for being here with us. A reminder in the next hour, we've got Steve Moore, who is with the Heritage Foundation, of course, and Charles Gasparino, Fox Business senior correspondent, at about 1:25, and he's going to explain to us the Silicon Valley Bank collapse. I can't wait to hear what he has to say about that, to kind of walk us through what exactly did happen and explain it to me like I'm 5. Now, let's get to Wiggins America.
Wiggins! Oh! Wiggins! All right, y'all. It is the day after. Well, I guess not technically the day after. The day after the day after.
Oh, it's the day after.
Daylight savings. I guess technically it's overnight in the middle of the night Sunday. So, yeah, the day after. How are you feeling? You feeling it?
Tired.
Tired. Does it take longer than a day to get over for anybody in here? Because it does for me.
I'm sick. It's hard to tell.
So you are exempt from this question.
I hate this time of year, though.
It will take me a week to regulate getting up what essentially is an hour earlier than what I'm used to, but once I get that, it won't matter anymore.
Yeah, it'll take me probably 2 or 3 days, but I actually enjoy daylight savings.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You would be among, I think, the minority of people who are saying that these days.
I don't know. What does that mean?
Yeah.
To me, I like it being light out later in the day. We get off of work and I feel like, I have more time. In reality, I don't, but I feel like I just have more time. It's better for my mental health to see the sun more later in the day. I
think that's that's the majority opinion.
So
I don't think she's in the minority there.
Would you be in favor, though, of keeping it daylight savings for the whole year so it never shifts? Because that's what the Senate passed last year at this time. But it did not clear the House. But we're very close.
What's the benefits of it switching? Do anyone know?
That's the big question, is that they always say that there are different industries that benefit from it. And the one I've always heard growing up, I don't know about you guys, was farmers. It was always about it's better for farmers if you do daylight savings. But what I have here is an article from Modern Farmer that is that is suggesting that is not true. Actually, they give the top 3 reasons why that is a myth, and at least modernly. I don't know if this was originally, because I think it was in the early 1900s that this originally started. But the 3 reasons they say that we could do away with it, I think the first 2 are specific to farming. The third is more broad for everybody. The first, they say it confuses the animals. The animals they're not on a schedule. They're on daylight. They're on sun up, sun down.
How does that confuse the animals, though?
Well, because your schedule shifts.
They don't read the clock.
So if your schedule shifts,
they get fed, I
that
guess.
when you're feeding them or anything like that, or when you're doing your chores that involve the animals, it throws them off.
I'm just thinking of like a cow like wandering around like,
Well, there might be something to that, because like my dog is very much like my wife hates whenever the clock falls back, because he's still on the other cycle, and so he's like, "Hey, it's 4 a.m. It's time to eat."
Yeah.
She's like, "No, it's an hour early."
Exactly. And if you're a farmer whose job isn't primarily farming, if your workday is shifting, well, you do have to shift when you're doing your chores around the farm.
have you changed your clocks or do they change automatically? I remember when I was younger, it was like a point that we had to go around the house and change everything. But now clocks change automatically and you don't have to worry about it as much.
Most don't. Just that, like, your microwave doesn't change. Your stove doesn't change.
I guess I'm thinking.
Do they? Mine don't.
My car
Mine don't.
changes. That's a big one.
Car
my
and phone.
changes. Yeah.
Your
But
car changes automatically? Is it because it's synced to your phone?
I guess so.
My car changes. It's not synced to my phone.
Mine doesn't change
Well,
until I
it
sync
is synced to my phone, but it changes without that.
We've got a tradition in our house. The microwave is above the oven, and so we change one, and then we put on a Post-it note next to the other one. This is what it feels like for a week, and I think it actually helps.
Do you really do that?
Yeah, we really do.
Such a Wiggins
funny.
thing to do.
You take the time to write a Post-it note and post it next to the wrong clock. That's hilarious.
I think it helps the kids because they're like, oh, yeah, okay. We don't feel tired to go to bed yet, but that's why. The second one that farmers say anyway is that they need more light in the morning rather than later. So they say it's actually better if we have the light in the morning, especially in different time zones, that getting the job done earlier is better than getting it done later. So they'd prefer the morning light. The last one is really kind of for everybody. They say it's just plain disruptive. And this is the argument across the board. They say, just pick a time and stick with it. This is a poll. Most people were saying this. We don't really care what it is, but if you could just pick one nationally and stick with it, instead of having pockets like Arizona and Hawaii have their own, and the further east you are in the time zone versus where you are in the west, it just kind of throws everything off.
Yeah, I wonder, like, if your kids ride the school bus and they have to stand out at the bus stop, if we stay at this time, if we don't change it off of the earlier time, then in December, January, February, these kids are going to be standing out at the bus stop in the pitch dark, in the freezing weather, waiting for the bus to get there. And I wonder, that wasn't really an issue in 1918 because school public transportation wasn't really that big of a thing. But that's going to be a new issue that's going to be faced by parents. The other thing you got to look at, too, with schools is spring sports. And if you don't change the clocks, if you stay with the other one, then the sports that are supposed to take place right after the outside sports, baseball and stuff like that, that's going to be in the dark. You'll run out of time to do those sports.
David from YouTube commented and said, old enough to remember before they had daylight savings time. It was better. Is that like a...
It was 1918.
He's 260 years old.
Okay, I was like,
thanks,
whoa.
David.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for figuring out how to stream.
I don't know if a 260-year-old really comes through in the ratings.
Is he a vampire?
I don't know.
He's part of a very unique demo. Would you be opposed
If he was a vampire, I think he'd be pro darker, longer.
Right.
That's true.
During waking
That's
time.
why he's saying it was much better without daylight savings time.
I'm confused.
Would you be opposed to trying it? Because I know that there are benefits and downfalls to it, but...
I'm 100% opposed to trying anything.
What about nationally? Like, if it was all across the board, Congress said it.
No, you already said it. The phrase is ask or get off the pot. Make a decision and stick with it and stop changing it.
The Senate wants to do daylight savings permanently. And where it got caught up in the House, apparently, and this is one of the very few, it's very, very interesting.
The Senate wasn't a federal mandate, though.
As far as I know, it was called the Sunshine Protection Act.
I don't think that was going to apply to everybody. I think that because there was action taking place in Illinois where they were going to do one thing and Missouri was going to do another, and I said no.
No.
Yeah.
But that's. I mean, it has to be determined for everybody. I mean, if you go to the Indiana-Illinois line, there is a time change there, but there are also places that do a time change but also don't participate in daylight savings time. What?
Exactly.
You're gonna need to give me like a 2-hour window of when you want me to show up anywhere, and I'll do my best.
Yeah, and it was supposed to start right now if it had passed, and it was close to passing the House, but apparently it wasn't a bipartisan thing. It was actually geographical. It was one of the very few things that there was no party affiliation with it. It just depended on where you were in the country of who was voting for it and who was voting against it. But it didn't pass, but it's close.
I think it's confusing. I think that if you could figure out the daylight savings time question and also how to stop robocalls and scam calls, you could be the president of the United States.
Forever.
Both things. That's your platform. I will vote for you if you can fix those issues. We're going to talk to Steve Moore and Charles Gasparino, all economy stuff. Give us your questions on the YouTube chat. We'll be right back.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they were very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They were in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
No paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
When you're looking for a realtor that is going to support you with your home sale or home purchase on the Illinois side of the river, you need Jen Teskey. She's with RE/MAX Alliance, and I encourage you to check out Remax Alliance and understanding quickly how aggressive and great she is at her job with her staff, her team around you, you are going to feel like you hit the jackpot with Jen Teskey. She has 15 years plus of experience that helping families just like you sell a home, prepare your home to sell, making sure you are sprucing it up where you need to, not spending the money on things that you don't need to get a better sale. And she gets the market, and that market is ever changing. It is very fickle, and she is an expert on it. She's also she has her certification in divorce real estate. If you're going through divorce or you know somebody is, Jen Teskey can help you get through that process in the best possible way for both parties. 618-541-1010. You can call her. You can text her. Jen Teskey with Remax Alliance. 618-541-1010.
With the Wholesale Formula Seminar, discover how to start your own Amazon business.
Hi, Ian Bauer. My first year averaged $45,000 a month in sales. Now I'm at $90,000 a month and hardly working.
Hi, I'm Amy Sherlock. I attended the Wholesale Formula Seminar, and I'm now doing $175,000 in sales per month.
Hey everyone, Ryan and Karen Pottinger here.
Because of the Wholesale Formula, last year we ran our business while we traveled to and lived in 4 different countries.
Hey, I'm Rick Manello. 2 years after attending the Wholesale Formula Seminar, I was able to sell my Amazon business for over $400,000.
Whether you have a business and want to sell more on Amazon, retired, or just need extra money, America's Amazon expert Dylan Frost will show you how for only $49.99 guaranteed or your money back. That's right, discover the easy way to make money on Amazon with Dylan Frost's The Wholesale Formula 2-hour seminar Tuesday, March 28th at 2 p.m. for the greater St. Louis area. Register at thewholesaleformula.com.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studio. 97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Assuring the country banks are sound. I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News. President Biden is trying to calm fears of banking customers following the failure of 2 large banks.
The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation is now calling shots at both Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank, both which came up short and couldn't pay depositors. President Biden says those depositors will be made whole.
No losses will be borne by the taxpayers. Instead, the money will come from the fees that banks pay into the Deposit Insurance Fund.
Though the FDIC insures only $250,000, some customers had millions on deposit at these institutions.
Fox's Eben Brown. The U.S. has begun a new push to target Russia's economy, especially the oligarchs, in an effort to thwart the Kremlin's invasion of Ukraine. U.S. efforts will focus on liquidating the property of Russian oligarchs and expanding financial penalties on those who facilitate the evasion of sanctions. They'll also seek to close loopholes in the law that allows oligarchs to move through the U.S. financial system through shell companies. A major oil project in Alaska is getting the green light.
The highly debated $8 billion Willow project in northern Alaska has been approved by the Biden administration. The White House is considering limiting or indefinitely blocking drilling for nearly 16 million acres in Alaska and the Arctic Ocean. Many climate activists have raised concerns about the Willow project, calling it bad for the environment and the fight against climate change. A bipartisan delegation of Alaskan leaders has said the project is great for jobs, taxes, and helps America become more energy independent.
Fox's Ryan Schmelz at the White House. President Biden set to meet with the prime ministers of the UK and Australia in California today to announce that Australia will be buying nuclear-powered attack submarines from the U.S. to modernize its fleet. America is listening to Fox News.
I'd rather ride a bike with my kids than ride in an ambulance.
I'd rather have a catch with my dog Curtis than catch pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with certain chronic conditions like heart disease, asthma, or diabetes, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20 pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just 1 dose. Learn more at Prevnar20.com. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
That winter feel switch has been turned back on today. Partly to mostly cloudy skies this afternoon, windy and chilly. The actual high 41. That means temperatures this afternoon mainly in the 30s. Tonight, a hard freeze still on tap. Been talking about it for several days. Partly cloudy skies, light winds and cold 25. Tuesday, partly to mostly sunny, light winds and 45. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
It's the best part of the week. The Mark Reardon Show Fish Fry Fridays continue, and this time we're in Manchester.
Come join us for a meal and the live broadcast at Christ Prince of Peace Church.
We're in Manchester, Missouri this Friday for the Mark Reardon Show Fish Fry Fridays on 97.1 FM Talk.
So I got a message from Stewie today, and rates have gone down. That's a big, big plus for anybody out there right now who is looking to purchase a home. And Stewie at Stewart's American Mortgage and the Bagel Loan, it's called the Bagel Loan because a bagel looks like a zero, and you pay zero in fees that other lenders out there will charge you for. Stewie has created the Bagel Loan to help you become the best, most aggressive purchaser for the home that you are looking to buy. Now, when you don't have to pay closing costs, you save lots of money, thousands of dollars. You can use that money for whatever you see fit, making a better offer, maybe doing upgrades to the house, whatever you might see fit for your particular instances. Now, the other thing is that since rates have come down, if you've gotten a mortgage here recently, while rates were high, refinance with the Bagel Loan. I know that you just got one, but consider this. Lower that rate from where you were to where you are now. And when you lower that rate, you are going to pay way less in interest over the course of the years of your mortgage. Call or text 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440 for the Bagel Loan. Google it, NMLS number 226715.
You had a solid retirement dream. Sell your home in a few years, bank the equity, downsize, and travel. But inflation and recession has you wondering if all your hard-earned equity will still be there. What if you could recession-proof your equity right now? You can with TrueHold. TrueHold will buy your home for its best current value before a recession can erode it. You get to bank all the cash now and live in your home for as long as you want. And TrueHold covers all property taxes, insurance, repairs, and maintenance. And since TrueHold pays your home's current value in cash now, it's yours to do whatever you'd like. Don't wait for inflation, recession, and interest rates to erode your home's value. Visit TrueHold.com and discover how much TrueHold will buy your home for today based on its best current value, not what's coming. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit TrueHold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out on your home's value without having to move. That's TrueHold.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
Happy Monday. Welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. The Hill reports that President Biden went big on his $6.8 trillion annual budget proposal to Congress. How do you get a $6.8 trillion annual budget? Well, by calling for $5 trillion in tax increases over the next decade. Who better to speak to about this than distinguished fellow in economics at Heritage Foundation, Steve Moore. Steve, I know we only got you for a few minutes. Biden's budget, let us have it. What do you think?
Well, I have a piece on FoxNews.com that just got posted, Annie, that I'd refer people to. But basically, I call it Biden's declaration of war against American businesses, because this would substantially increase the taxes. You know, he says, oh, it's just going to hit the top 1%. But, you know, most small businesses pay taxes at the, on the personal income tax rates. So those would go up. He wants to increase our corporate tax rate to the highest in the world virtually. He wants to raise our capital gains tax. It's just filled with massive tax increases that would have an incredibly negative effect. In fact, I say in the Fox piece that if these tax increases were to go into effect, and God forbid, and they're not going to right now because you got a Republican House, but if the Democrats were to sweep in 2024, this is their agenda. And this would cause, in my opinion, a 1929 style crash in the stock market. So it's a dangerous situation. The Democrats have become so woke and so left-wing and so anti-business. And by the way, Annie, where are you going to get the jobs if you destroy the businesses?
That's a good question. Do they not think that far, or do they have an answer to that question?
I don't think they can connect those dots. But the higher taxes will hurt the businesses. Many will go bankrupt. Then they'll have to lay off their workers. Then you're going to have higher unemployment and lower wages for workers. So, workers get killed when you increase taxes on businesses.
I've tweeted out the link to that Fox News article. Biden's budget is a declaration of war on American businesses that will hit you hard. I keep hearing the left, Steve. They keep telling me that they just want the rich to pay the fair share. That's not going to hit me.
Well, here's the thing. The people in the top 1%, those evil people like, Warren Buffett and Bill Gates and Taylor Swift and people like that, they, for the most part, what they do, over 60% of people in that top 1%, you know what they do? They own, operate, and invest in small businesses. So how are you going to make this work? And we know from the states, by the way, we know what's happening in California. We know what's happening in New York. We know what's happening in my home state of Illinois. Rich people are leaving high tax states and going to low tax states. So yes, people will move. Capital moves. Businesses move out of high tax places. So if you do this at the federal level, they're not going to be able to move to Florida or Texas. They're going to move to, Mexico or China or India or other places where the taxes are much lower. So this is an assault on American competitiveness, a terrible idea. And incidentally, don't believe for 1 minute this is about balancing the budget. Biden has $505 billion of new spending in his plan in the first year alone.
Yeah. I mean, it's not sustainable for the average American individual. Maybe it's supposed to not be sustainable. Maybe that means that the whole system shifts. But Steve Moore, before we have to
by the way, let me respond to what you just said, because it's an important point. The question is why? Why are they doing this? Do they hate America? Do they hate American businesses? Do they want to play into the hands of our enemies? I can't tell you how much time, and how often when I'm on the road and giving talks across the country, I'll ask people, do you think that this is an intentional plan, like Dr. Evil, from the Austin Powers movies, to try to destroy the country? And over half the hands go up and they say, it must be intentional. Why else would they do this?
It's hard to look at the details of it and not think that they could be this stupid, that it have to be intentional. Is Congress, the Senate has a very favorable election coming up for Republicans. The House certainly looks like there's room to expand that Republican majority. Do you think that the Democrats that are going to be running in this next election are going to be happy to go along with this kind of a budget?
Well, I think it depends on what happens with the economy. Now, the reason I have to cut our conversation a little short today, I'm going on Fox in a few minutes because they have, this new bank run, that's happening. And I don't want people to panic. I don't think there's going to be a major bank run. But the reason some of these banks are failing, like Silicon Valley Bank, is because the interest rates went way up. Why did the interest rates go up? You know why the interest rates went up, because of the out-of-control government spending. So it all circles back to incredibly bad policy and harmful and destructive policy out of the Biden administration. And I got to go in 1 minute, but I'll tell you, I was at the Trump International last night. I'm in Palm Beach and had an occasion to talk to the president for a bit. That is President Trump, of course. And, I told him, look, these guys are trying to destroy the economy. You've got to really contrast what happened under your presidency, because, I was one of his advisors on the when he was president, and with what's happening today, because we have a strong labor market. I get that, and that's good news. But it just feels like this is getting really close to almost like a financial panic situation in this country, and we don't want that. Remember what happened in 2008. So, yeah, people have to stay attentive. I think this president, when he keeps saying, I attack the rich people, and he said today, we're going to do this big bailout of the banks, and don't worry, taxpayers, that's not going to pay you a penny, cost you a penny. Do you believe that?
Not at all. No, not at all. It's always,
who else is going to pay for it if we don't pay for it,
It's unbelievable. Well, we're going to let you go, do your thing. Okay. We appreciate your time here, and we look forward to having you back.
All right. Thanks, Annie. Have a great week.
You as well. Distinguished Fellow in Economics at Heritage Foundation, Steve Moore, going to do a Fox News hit and was willing to squeeze us in today. We appreciate that. I was going to play this clip before leading into the segment, but I knew he only had a limited time. Here's Senator Kennedy on the issue.
It's a $6.9 trillion budget, $4.7 trillion in new taxes that will affect everyone over 10 years, $18 trillion in new debt, a cut to defense. The president says that his budget will solve our financial problems in Medicare and Social Security. That's not true. Anything seems possible when you don't know what you're talking about. The Wall Street Journal just reported that the president's budget will add $11 trillion in a financial shortfall to Social Security and Medicare. The only way I know how to improve the president's budget is with a shredder.
So Senator Kennedy saying in his own special Senator Kennedy kind of way what Steve Moore was saying there. I'll highlight a few business killers, Trump versus Biden points from this Steve Moore article that I just tweeted out at Annie Frey Show if you want to read it for yourself. This is Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. The small business tax rate, Donald Trump 39.6%, Joe Biden 44%. That's small business tax rate going from 39.6% to 44%. Capital gains taxes 23.8% to 39.6%. Corporate taxes 21% to 28%. Taxes on unrealized capital gains. This is a crazy one. See, unrealized capital gains, you can Google it. I'm not going to explain it right now because I'll probably screw it up in the process. But right now there is a 0% tax on unrealized things you haven't actually acquired in your pocket yet, from 0% to 20%. Medicare taxes 3.8% versus Biden's 5%, and a stock buyback tax 1% versus 4%. When you look at a budget like this that is proposed by Joe Biden, what you end up seeing is that Joe Biden believes that there's a portion of the money that you make that he will permit you to keep. Isn't that a little frustrating? Doesn't that get under your skin? That there is an entitlement to a portion of the money that you make that is his to acquire from you to spend on things that he sees fit. Now, are there things in government that could come out of my paycheck to go into a collective pot that could be better for the sake of a civilized society? Of course there are. I would think that your military defense would be chief among them. The idea that we have the strongest military in the world because we have a collective pot of money that comes together to invest in it. And then if you were in an instance where you were going to be living in the state of Illinois and Illinois was supposed to provide for their defense and Missouri was going to provide for their defense, that is not a system that is workable. And we would not be the global force that we are in an economic climate like that. Something else that is understandable to collect money together to invest in are the roads that you drive in from state to state to state to state. The infrastructure that you enjoy, the bridges that you go over, you want to make sure that they are safe and secure and that they have a standard that is going to make you feel comfortable driving your Pacifica full of your 4 children, your family, when you travel from point A to point B. That infrastructure is something that we should collectively invest in. The final thing, in my opinion, 3 pillars that I think are the most important for tax dollars to come together and to provide is the confidence and assurance that the laws of the land that determine where your freedoms begin to infringe upon another freedoms, that honoring of contracts that takes place and the idea that we have laws and a system that upholds justice in a way that it treats everyone equally. What did the Democrats say all the time? No one is above the law. I think there is some fine print that we haven't gotten to yet when the Democrats say that. But the idea that no one is above the law, that the law should apply to everyone equally, that needs to be invested in and provided for so that we have impartial people assessing those scenarios, situations, so that we can make sure that justice is served. These are all instances where it does make sense to pay taxes and to have those tax dollars serve the public interest. We are way far away from the idea of the money that comes out of your pocket that you earn, that instead of putting a diaper on your baby's bottom or $1 in your own retirement account so that you can live independently once you choose to retire, that dollar is better served in the hands of the government to invest in what? You look at what they're investing in right now, and you've got to scratch your head. There is something to tick off anybody of any political walk right now in the budget that we are serving under and that Joe Biden is presenting right now. We spend way too much money. Donald Trump spent way too much money. I'm trying to think of a conservative Republican, outside of, say, probably Rand Paul, that has advocated for reducing spending in a way that will actually contribute to the defense of this country, in an idea that would actually provide for a safer and secure tomorrow for ourselves, for our children, for our grandchildren? The overspending of the United States government is exactly what Steve Moore just said there. You want to put $4 trillion, $5 trillion in tax increases in a budget that's $6.8 trillion and think that you're going to be able to tax these people and then it's not going to trickle down into the general consumer of the goods and services of the successful people who are using, their money, as he articulated there, and invest into small businesses to help small businesses thrive? Is there corporate cronyism? Of course there is. Should we combat it? Of course we should. But this delusion from Joe Biden, and it's probably, this is the first go at it. He's saying $5 trillion in tax increases, and he probably knows he's going to have to settle for less. We are in a world, in a scenario right now in the United States where we don't understand what conservative economics are. We haven't had anybody go into government bearing the Republican distinguishment that goes in there and says, we need to spend less. And it's a very difficult thing to campaign on. How are you going to go into a campaign and say, well, we're going to have to cut that program. We're going to cut this program. We're going to cut that program. Oh, and that one too. And have people go, high five. That sounds great. There are going to be people who economically understand the value of doing that, but you have to get elected before you can implement those types of policies. It's very difficult to do. You make a lot of promises about what, as an elected official, you're going to do for people. You're going to give to people. That's how campaigns are run. That's how elections are won. But we cannot sustain the spending that we have right now on par in the future and still have a safe and comfortable country. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we are going to connect with Fox Business senior correspondent, New York Post columnist as well, Charlie Gasparino, is going to break down for us quickly the Silicon Valley Bank collapse. What happened and what does it mean if I don't have my money in Silicon Valley Bank? Do you? If you don't, does this affect us? Should we be a little nervous? A little concerned? Where should we be paying our attention right now? Charlie Gasparino on the Annie Frey Show in a minute when we come back.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
Nobody needs $1,000 suit just to take out the trash.
So I want to talk to you about Stay Home Medical. This is such an awesome opportunity for people who are not feeling well, who need to have lab work done. StayHomeMedical.com. StayHomeMedical.com. Have your urgent care come to you. This is so innovative and smart and kind of actually a throwback to the way medicine used to be. Instead of going and sitting in a waiting room with a bunch of other people who are sniffling and coughing or Lord knows what, have them come to you. It's a more personalized approach to healthcare. It is a great way to get all of the services that you need right there in the comfort of your own home. StayHomeMedical.com. Nurse practitioner Adina Winter will work with a collaborating physician. When she saw this need for a mobile urgent care, it took on a kind of a life of its own, and it can come to you as well. Adina is wonderful. She's sweet, and she's very accomplished. She has over a decade of years of experience in the medical profession, and she can provide that care for you in the comfort of your own home. Let's talk about what kind of things she services. Ear infections, UTIs, bronchitis, dehydration, sore throats, minor cuts, lacerations, or burns, if you need sutures, eye infections, sinus infections, plus more. She can also provide lab services right there in your home. 314-944-3003. Call 314-944-3003. StayHomeMedical.com.
Ashley's Orange event is happening for 3 days only, Friday through Sunday only. Save 30% off store-wide or get 60 months no interest with no minimum purchase and no down payment. Don't miss Ashley's biggest event of the year. Shop hot deals starting at $199. Plus, shop Ashley Sleep Doorbuster mattresses. Your choice Comfort Queen mattress now only $399. Text 79975 to schedule your appointment today. Friday through Sunday only. In store at Ashley.
Champion Floor Company is known for their customer service. It's a big reason why they've been serving the community for 34 years. If you're looking to replace your flooring, schedule an appointment at championfloor.com. Champion Floor, delivering excellence every day.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together, millions of things for our planet. With warmer spring temperatures, hang your clothes to dry outside instead of using the dryer. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Did you know the IRS is a super creditor? Hi, I'm Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. The IRS is the only creditor that can create a bill for you without your permission, then drop the hammer and aggressively collect it by wiping out your bank account, seizing your assets, and levying your wages. No other creditor can do that, and this can all happen without a court approval. If you owe back taxes, you need to be prepared to face the super creditor. Don't just sit back and take it. Fight back. At the Lance Drury Law Firm, we know how to use the laws to your advantage and go toe-to-toe with the IRS. Our office is located right here in St. Louis. Contact the Lance Drury Law Firm today for a free consultation with me, or visit us at lancedrurylaw.com or call 314-260-6120. That's 314-260-6120 to get started.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
If you're drowning in IRS debt and can't afford to pay, then you need to take advantage of special IRS tax programs that are available and free yourself from IRS collection efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing throughout the country, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call the Community Tax Helpline at 800-324-0231. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back, or even if you have years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-324-0231 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-324-0231 for your free consultation and to see if you qualify. That's 800-324-0231.
The Mark Reardon Show.
Phil Holloway is back with us, Fox News analyst.
Say what you want to say about Governor DeSantis, but he's been one of the leaders on COVID. He's turned out to be right about basically everything.
Weekdays from 3 to 6.
St. Louis is home for conservative talk.
This is the Annie Frey Show. Follow Annie on Twitter @AnnieFryShow.
I'm going to ask Congress and the banking regulators to strengthen the rules for banks to make it less likely this kind of bank failure would happen again, and to protect American jobs and small businesses. Look, the bottom line is this. Americans can rest assured that our banking system is safe. Your deposits are safe. Let me also assure you, we will not stop at this. We'll do whatever is needed.
So the president's speaking today about the Silicon Valley Bank collapse. And I got to tell you, when someone comes out to reassure you that your bank deposits are safe, that in and of itself kind of makes you feel like maybe your bank deposits aren't safe. Us common folks don't necessarily know what this always means. And so we always get our experts on here to discuss these issues with us. So we are going to go to our guest now. He is a Fox Business senior correspondent. His name is Charlie Gasparino, and we're so glad to have him on for a few minutes to talk to us about what this bank collapse is all about. Charlie, thank you for being on here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Can you just lay the land out for us? What took place to get us to where we are right now, where this bank has collapsed?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. You can't have what went down in this country since 2020, which was lockdowns that occurred first, the federal government for 3 years taking extraordinary means to make up for those lockdowns, which was printing money and spending money, and not have sort of dislocations in the banking system and people doing crazy stuff with money. And that's essentially what you had here. You had a bank that had poor risk controls that grew exponentially over a few years, a period of time, grew in an area of the country, by the way, Silicon Valley, hence the name, that was exploding, particularly during COVID and other and afterwards until very recently. And you had excessive risk taking. And there's no other way around it. And it's replicated in our economy in various ways. And we're going to see a lot more of this, particularly if the Fed keeps normalizing rates. I mean, what happened is the immediate consequence to all that money printing and low interest rates and spending is you do get an economic bubble, and particularly in various financial instruments. Crypto, meme stocks, all these stupid investments that, shouldn't be trading where they are did. Housing through the roof, houses in South Carolina and Florida going through, quadrupling in a couple of years' time. You had like too much money chasing too few goods. You had inflation. The Fed doesn't want 6% inflation because that's a pernicious tax on the middle class. They raise rates. And as things normalize, you see stuff like this. Losses start appearing on the balance sheet. Your risky bets start to turn sour. And, that in a nutshell, I mean, I can give you the very detailed stuff, what went down at Silicon Valley Bank, and your viewers will turn the channel. But that's kind of what happened. Risk-taking spurred, encouraged by government.
Well, we're speaking with Fox Business senior correspondent and also New York Post columnist. I've tweeted out your article, Collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. You're welcome. May not cause a crisis, but Main Street will feel the pain. So you could give us the boring details of how this happened. But what people really want to know is, okay, what happens to me? How's Main Street going to feel this pain?
We're going to have an economic slowdown because there's going to be a lot more of this. A lot more money is going to come out of the markets and the economy. And unless the Fed turns and starts, basically stops raising rates, and it might just because it's freaked out about the systemic risk to the banking system, we're going to have a recession. And that's what happens when you print too much money and spend too much money. You get inflation. And the only way to get rid of inflation is a recession. Now, you might say to yourself, well, why don't we just deal with inflation and not have a recession? And, if we're all working and prices are going up, isn't that good? Well, not really. First off, you have something known as a wage price spiral. Your wages never keep up with the amount of inflation. It's just the way it works. So then it feels like you're in a recession anyway. And then you start cutting back and you go into a recession anyway because people can't afford to go to travel, to do things. It's too expensive. So you don't want that type of destabilized economy. So you try to create what is euphemistically termed a soft landing, but it's never really that soft. You've heard that term, soft landing. I mean, you try to slow the economy, but not so much that it implodes, but it's very hard. So I think that's what we're kind of in. We're in that stage where we're not quite in a recession yet, but the economy is starting to spaz out a bit. And you're starting to get these weird gyrations, and you're going to have more of them, because there's no way that this is the only bank that took these types of risks, because everybody had the same amount of money. Everybody was doing the same type of investments. The Silicon Valley Bank was not didn't invent the wheel when it came to taking risk.
Yeah. So I guess the country should brace themselves. I know we only have you for a little bit, so I'm going to ask you one final question before we let you go. You're giving some solutions that may provide for a bit of a softer landing, but people, unless you get to make those decisions for us, which sounds like I'd vote for you, but do you see people in positions of power and authority who are observing what you're saying and positioning the economy to make that soft landing, or is it going to get worse before it gets better?
They're trying. I don't think they know. Everybody in the Fed knows that it's Jerome Powell's the Fed chair. He knows that soft landings are difficult and inflation is sticky, so you got to keep raising rates. So they all know where we're going. I think I think he kind of gets it. I just wonder if the White House gets it. I mean, you just have a feeling that you have the economic B team with Janet Yellen and Joe Biden just sort of out to lunch. Say what you want about Trump. He surrounded himself with some smart people, and in economics particularly. So it's a different ball game with these guys. I just don't know if they understand. So Elizabeth Warren, plays a huge role in economic policymakers. She's a left winger. I mean, who knows where she comes out in all this. And so I worry about fiscal policy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think Jerome Powell would probably not have to raise rates that much if we didn't have such burdensome regulations. And if you could continue to drill for oil like the you could during the Trump years, you probably have lower gas prices, and that would be good for inflation, and you might not have to raise rates that much. I mean, it kind of comes down to stuff like that.
Well, it sounds good because there are things we can do, and it sounds bad that we're not doing them. So at least there's some potential solutions out there. Maybe that your common sense will seep through.
Yeah, like a new White House.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're literally counting the days. Charles Gasparino, thank you so much for the time today. We appreciate you.
Anytime. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Fox Business senior correspondent and New York Post columnist there. As I said, at Annie Frey Show, if you follow me on Twitter, I just tweeted out his article on this. And if you're not a Silicon Valley Bank customer, then you might think, okay, does this affect me? Well, he's here to say Main Street is going to feel this. And to quote his article, we just don't know yet how big. Brad, when you are listening to somebody like Charles Gasparino who understands, I don't know if you consider yourself an economist.
Well, whenever I was teaching, one of the classes I had to teach was economics. But it was very basic economics. And the thing that kills me about this is I'm watching what the Biden administration is doing, and I'm going back to that basic economics class. I'm going, this is horrible ideas. This is terrible ideas.
You're saying it's basic economics.
It's basic economics. I mean, they're so far in the woods, they've forgotten the basics, and now they're doing all these other things, and it's actually coming back to bite us.
Well, I'll play this clip. I played this a little bit earlier, but I think that this is such an important thing for people to understand right now. Congressman Comer talking about some of their investments.
Look, this is something that I worry could be a trend. Usually when one bank goes down, more banks go down. And what we've seen early on from articles I've read in the Wall Street Journal and other financial publications is they invested a lot of cash that I would assume they had from things like the PPP loan, government policy, and they invested it in bonds. And then because the Democrats spent too much money in all their stimulus, the bonds go down when interest rates go up. The Fed had to raise interest rates to combat the Democrat inflation. And then we see now coming out that they were one of the most woke banks in their quest for the ESG type policy and investing. This could be a trend, and there are consequences for bad Democrat policy. And I think we need to keep an eye on all the banking sector right now.
For a bank to be failing and investing billions of dollars into ESG and woke policies, I mean, we use the term woke, and I know that that's kind of like a trigger for some people. Like, oh, what is woke? Everybody knows what woke is.
Yeah.
If you are the person who's asking what is woke, I know you know exactly what it means.
You know exactly what it is, and you're just trying to say it to make us look bad or something,
But isn't it a privilege for a company that's maybe thriving in the moment, especially in the last few economic years that we have had that have caused a lot of money to be thrust into the economy? You get an instance where you've got a little extra cash on hand. You get to invest in some things that maybe aren't as financially sound. I mean, it's a privilege to be able to do that, and it's costing people a lot.
Yeah, well, the thing is like if you want to invest in those policies, that's fine, but you can't over leverage yourself in something that isn't going to that's that high risk, because whenever you're over leveraged in something that's that high risk, whenever the bottom falls out of it, it hurts everybody. And that's kind of what I'm getting the impression happened here at this bank. They were over leveraged in a couple areas and the bottom fell out of them. And then they didn't have enough of the safe investments to balance that out. And then the bank collapsed.
Do you think that, like, I always consume these stories and try to read up on them and try to become an expert, and then I realize I can't become an economist in a weekend and try to figure out why banks collapse. Like, if I could figure that out, why are they not figuring it out when they've probably got doctorates in this type of a thing? But how many people understand how frail the economy is right now?
I don't think a lot of people do, and honestly, like, as I look at it, the more I learn about the economy, the more there is a lot of the economy that is really based on confidence. If you stop and you think back, we'll go
Speculation.
back. Speculation. You go back. Remember whenever we went, at the very beginning of the pandemic, was there a shortage of toilet paper or was there a run on toilet paper? So what ended up happening with the toilet paper it wasn't that they stopped making it. It was that people thought, oh no, they're going to shut everything down. What I need is a lot of toilet paper. And then there was a big run on it. And so people went and bought it all up, and then you couldn't find it anywhere. And so whenever you look at, like when Rep. Comer was saying there, how about this could happen at other banks? What we didn't want was a run on banks. But again, that's people's confidence in the banks. Do people have confidence that the banks will have their money whenever they go to get it? and whenever panic ensues, then people make a run on the banks. And then if everybody wants their money out of the banks at the same time, then they're not going to have that money. They're not going to have those assets liquid.
You know, when we talk about elections, we talk about Republican candidates for president, Donald Trump. I mean, it's interesting to me to listen to Gasparino talking about Donald Trump's economy and him surrounding himself because I've had Charlie Gasparino on this show before during the Trump years. He was not a Trump fan.
No.
He is actually the opposite.
I was going to ask you about that because when I heard that, I was like, oh, I thought maybe he wasn't a big Trump guy.
No, he's not. I mean, maybe he is now. It seems like we have a YouTube short up right now. If you follow Annie Frey go subscribe on YouTube or whatever. We have a bunch of these videos that get popped up. Anna does a fantastic job of taking little bits of the show and turning them around in like these tiny little consumable videos. And one of them was when we had Jamie Lissow in studio with us, and he was talking about how he's a comedian, so he was talking about how he doesn't have a lot of confidence in Joe Biden, and he was talking about how Joe Biden, just the other day, Air Force One was driving around with their blinker on. So funny joke, I get it, haha, hilarious. And it was just a commentary, less than 60 seconds of a commentary about how right now, if you look at who's running the country, Joe Biden, there's not really any room for like, this guy's got it down. This is the guy. He's doing great. And the response, you know, the comments now, it's YouTube, this comments, this troll, people who just go out in the world to troll. But here's the deal. When you comment on our YouTube videos, it makes our YouTube channel sound better in the algorithm. I reply back because I don't mind having a conversation. I'm driving in the car. I've got time.
It's good practice.
Sure. So the more you comment and troll, it still works for me and I'm okay with it. But I reply back and I'm like, it's just amazing to me that in a conversation about Donald Trump, or excuse me, in a conversation about Joe Biden on a short YouTube video about how he's not presenting himself in a way that gives you confidence in how the country is being run, that your response is, at least it's better than Trump. That's like a resolve that you have. It is if you despise anything Republican. I mean, I can't imagine he wouldn't say that about any Republican.
Yeah, that's true.
But what about this guy? Like, do you aspire for a better Democrat to be in office next time? Because you're going to have that choice.
Well, when you have to point, great point. There's better options out there within your party than the guy who's currently in office. But whenever you have to point at somebody else and go, well, what about this guy? I know we throw around whataboutism all the time. It tells me that you don't really have anything positive that you can say about Joe Biden. Like, what?
And that you're actually satisfied that you get to go exhale after saying, better than Trump?
I can't get my brain around that.
I can't either. Because to me, both sides do it. Because if Donald Trump is your answer for everything, all positive or all negative, I think both of those are incredibly short-sighted and kind of lazy. But if your response is that at least Joe Biden is better than Trump, and that's the summation, that's the total response that you have, I don't think you care about the country. I feel like you self-identify on a competitive playing field with one side or the other, and you're personalizing the Biden victory and feeling accomplished because somebody who might have supported Trump lost. You feel a personal win because somebody else out there is going to feel a personal loss. I'm here to tell you, I do not feel that personal loss. I'm mourning for our country. And I wish that the people on the left and the people on the right, who both sides, the always Trump or the never Trump people, would realize that neither of those are good for the country, and that you could be anywhere in the middle. You could be staunchly Democrat, identify that Joe Biden's doing a terrible job, identify, and I know people like this in my real life that are Democrats who would tell me, my 401k is looking pretty good right now, Annie, during the Trump years. They could identify that because they're not head in the ground, dyed in the wool, never Trumpers. There are other things that are more important to them. And I can also see Republicans who would still vote for him if it was him versus a Democrat who could say, you know, these things that Donald Trump did were great, and these are things that I wish he'd change, or I wish he wouldn't have done that. Because it's not your victory.
Right.
It's bigger than that.
Yeah, and it's not a game. It's not a sporting event. What you're describing to me is that, you always talk about the red jersey, the blue jersey people. The people that are out there that are looking at this as like, this is a competition between my team and your team. And what's important is that my team wins. And it's not that. What's important is, and our team is, the United States of America, not the Democrats and not the Republicans. And what's important is that the United States of America wins. So whenever you look at what's going on in the country, if the United States of America isn't winning, if banks are collapsing, inflation's going out of control, the wages are stagnant, that's not the United States of America winning. You need to change things up. You need to look at that, and you need to be honest with it. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't 100% Donald Trump all the time, every time. I liked a lot of Donald Trump. But then he would say something, and he'd be like, dude, why did you say that?
You're making this harder for yourself than
Why
you need
did you
to.
do that? Yeah, and now everybody's looking at you and this great, big, awesome thing that you just did. Nobody's talking about that. They're talking about the stupid thing you said on Twitter.
Because they're part of that never Trump delusional world where they see things through this lens, out of rose-colored glasses, orange-colored glasses, maybe, I don't know. And they see this embodiment of what they hate. And people will frequently reply to, Annie, if you think that Ron DeSantis is going to become the nominee and they're going to go soft on him, of course they're not. They're going to go as hard on Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley or Mike Pompeo or John Friggett Bolton if he gets the nomination. They're going to go as hard on them as they did on Donald Trump. Donald Trump, his upside was his downside. A double-edged sword. He fought back. He punched the bully square in the nose. And that's a plus and a minus at the same time. And the question is, at the end of all of the fighting back, is it net positive or is it net negative? The last time he went at it, it was a net negative because he lost. The first time he went at it, he won. That won him the election, that he was willing to fight on their terms, and he did it. But you have somebody here like Art, and this is Art. I gotta say, he's a commenter on our YouTube channel. He says Trump tried to have a mob murder the vice president. I agree with Brad. It's not a sporting event. The two sides are not the same. Art, I can't even have a normal conversation with you if you think that Donald Trump tried to have a mob murder the vice president. Like, we are not the same.
No.
Like you said.
We don't exist on the same planet.
No, we don't. Our realities are different. And at this point, 2 years and 3 months or 2 months away from that event happening on January 6th, I mean, if that's where you are on that, because there are a lot of people who are in that place, I can't have a conversation about that issue with you. We don't foundationally agree. You're free to believe what you want, First Amendment and all. God bless it. I'm free to believe what I want. I don't believe that for a second. I just don't. And I can't spend time having a conversation. This is the same thing with the abortion conversation. We've talked about this before. If you're trying to advocate for life in a conversation with somebody who is pro-abortion, and before anybody tells me that people aren't pro-abortion, check your facts. If you're trying to talk to somebody who is pro-abortion, identifies themselves as pro-choice, and you can't agree on when life begins, you can't have the conversation. And you should work on other aspects of your relationship with that person if you care about them and set that conversation aside. Because if you're saying that abortion kills a baby and they're saying that a baby isn't a human life until it's born, you're not talking about the same thing. And you're not going to get anywhere. So unless you're arguing for sport, which is what the never and the always Trumpers are doing, for sport, for your own points on your own playing field that doesn't affect the country, there's some things you got to know about the conversation and the people you're discussing it with before you engage. If the goal is actually to get somewhere, even if the goal is actually to get to the place where you agree to disagree with respect,
with understanding, you have to have some sort of ground rules, even just to come to an understanding. It's like, I understand where your side's coming from.
Yeah. It's so important. Well, great to have Charlie Gasparino on the show. Interesting to hear him identify the positive parts of Donald Trump. He's been on the show before and not been saying nice things about Donald Trump. His take, we like all kinds here, and great to have him back on. Steve Moore on with us earlier. So if you're interested in anything going on with the economy, the 1 o'clock hour, great hour to rewind if you didn't catch the whole thing on the Odyssey app. 97.1 FM Talk, follow it on 97.1 FM Talk on the Odyssey app. You can follow the Annie Frey Show, too. And you can rewind to the 1 o'clock hour. Stick around. More Annie Frey Show in a minute.
Forget the judgment and the case.
This is the Annie Frey Show. Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Frey Show.
And I wish it could always be like this.
Hey y'all, this is your girl Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14 days, and it's really that easy. Metamucil traps and removes the waste that weighs you down, so you feel lighter and more energetic. Now I never want to go back to that heavy feeling. Are you ready for the Metamucil 2-week challenge? For a coupon and daily support, sign up at Metamucil.com today.
When I can't sleep, my mind just races. I think about work, the kids, but I don't think about taking melatonin because I'm afraid I'll feel groggy in the morning.
ZzzQuil Pure Z's Gummies has an optimal dose of melatonin for no next-day grogginess, so you can fall asleep naturally and wake up feeling refreshed. ZzzQuil Pure Z's Gummies for better sleep like never before. And try Pure Z Sleep plus Next Day Energy with melatonin plus extended release B vitamins.
Well, I've got a message you definitely need to hear today. So if you're tired today, I'll give you a pass. But if you're always tired, you feel like you never really can catch up on sleep, see Dr. Ty Parker and Fountains Family Dentistry, because you may have sleep apnea. In fact, a lot of people do and don't know they do. I found out very early because I'm friends with Dr. Ty Parker, and I told him what was going on. He's like, yeah, you need to come see me. So many people don't know to even call a dentist. It's not your first call. It's not what you'd think, oh, this will solve my problem with sleep apnea, especially if you don't know you have sleep apnea, and it gets worse as you get older. So if this is developed sometime maybe in your 30s and now you're in your 50s or anywhere on that timeline, you may be in serious need of some help sleeping, and Dr. Ty Parker can help solve that problem with no medicine. That's what's amazing. You go in there, you just get fitted with a retainer that you wear at night. You don't even know you're wearing it, and the problem is solved. It affects so much in your life. Not only your quality of life, but your health in general is affected by how your sleep is. So see my friend, Dr. Ty Parker, at Fountains Family Dentistry. They're in Fairview Heights, Illinois, and at fountainsfamilydentistry.com.
Learn to make money 5 ways with rental real estate. Double your money with apartments. And get your map to financial freedom. And that map starts with a free workshop. Sign up now at lifestylesunlimited.com. Click on the Join Free Workshop tab and attend online or in person. That's lifestylesunlimited.com. Lifestylesunlimited.com. Again, that's lifestylesunlimited.com. Limited seating, unlimited potential.
If you own a home in St. Louis and you want to sell it as is without any inspections or the need to make any repairs, call Chris Buys Homes stlouis.com at 314-782-8000 and get your cash offer without any obligation, commissions, banks, or headaches. Chris buys vacant homes, inherited homes, fixer-uppers, beautiful homes, even the tenant who won't pay the rent apartment. Google us. Chris Buys Homes in St. Louis, and check out our best reviews from satisfied customers. When you sell to Chris, you decide when you want to move, according to your schedule and your terms. Go to our website, chrisbuyshomes.stlouis.com, or call Chris at 314-782-8000. That's 314-782-8000, and get the offer you've been waiting for. 314-782-8000.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
At Underlaw, we take on the establishment and challenge corporations to be better for the safety of our community.
Call Underlaw Personal Injury Lawyers at 314 or 618 $9,000,000.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is celebrating 54 years of residential and commercial service, maintenance, and installation of heating and cooling systems. Get in your comfort zone. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
Celebrating 22 years as St. Louis's home for conservative talk. 97.1 FM Talk. Thanks for being a part of it. The Annie Frey Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Now it's coming back, we can steal it. If we bridge this gap, I can see you through the curtains of the waterfall.
Welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. Did you hear the story? Did you hear the news about Lauren Boebert?
No.
Is she going to be a grandma?
Lauren Boebert's going to be a grandma.
Really?
She's 36. Everybody's doing math right now, right?
Did you say 36?
36. New York Post reported last week she's announced that her 17-year-old son, Tyler, and his girlfriend are expecting a child next month. Boebert, 36, broke the happy news while speaking Tuesday at an event hosted by the conservative group for Moms for America, where she touted the values of her rural countrymen. This is an interesting topic of discussion for me because the idea of Lauren Boebert being a 36-year-old grandmother, I believe she had her child when she was 18 or 19. And her son, who is now 17, is going to have a child now. And what she's saying is, listen, she's her words, she's saying that rural values, which value life, are to be celebrated. She's not wrong.
No, she's not.
If the values, because the implication here, this conversation becomes an issue for people on the left who are looking at the right and saying, well, why are you getting pregnant at 17 and 18? So the finger pointing happens there. It would be easier for Lauren Boebert and for her son's girlfriend, as I understand it. It would be easier publicly to never have to have this be a story and to just get an abortion.
I have a question about this. Why is it catered to just rural value? Like, why is that?
That's what Lauren Boebert's saying. I think it's her constituency.
That's interesting to me.
She said, when I approached him and told him, Tyler, I'm going to be a 36-year-old grandmother, he said, well, didn't you make Granny a 36-year-old granny? Which is true. What do you do with this, Brad?
What do I do with this?
36. I mean, she's saying she's using this as an opportunity, which is good politics, but it's also the right thing. Like I would say, and I've said this before, I'm probably in the vast minority here, but this is me and my Christian conservative beliefs that abstinence to marriage and a monogamous relationship is God's design. And that's the God I believe in. Maybe it's not the one you believe in. That this clearly is not in that design. But there is an instance where there was sex outside of marriage and they're saying we're going to keep this baby.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to shame them.
I'm not either. As a matter of fact, this hits really close to home for me. I've got a niece that's a year younger than Hannah's age, and she is the oldest daughter of my brother, who is my younger brother, and he was 17 whenever he
became a dad?
Yep, became a dad. And he has done... Like, for all the stuff that we go through in our family, he has done such a great job trying to be a great dad. I have never seen somebody love their kids as much as he loves his daughters.
The alternative? Are you kidding me? Like, it's
Right.
not even a conversation. It's hard to even fathom the thought.
Yeah. And he was ill-prepared and not ready, but that didn't stop him from throwing himself full force into being a dad. And I am so proud of him and so impressed by his actions.
I actually look at an instance like this and think you can advocate for two things that I believe in. Why abstinence before marriage is still a good thing, but also how the blessing of life should always be respected. And I don't feel like, the pedestal that the Democrats often try, the very, very unattainable pedestal that Democrats try to politically in campaigns put Republicans on, is just so that the fall from grace is much further and much more
destructive. Put them up there and then knock them off.
Yes. And I see this, and, Lauren Boebert can be, and she should be proud of her family and love her family in spite of anything and everything. Because that's the way I will always be for my children. Always.
Yes.
And I've had the conversation with my son. He came out to that abortion. I did a speaking engagement in front of a Hope Clinic, aptly named, in Granite City. And I talked about it. My son still will bring that up from time to time. And on the drive home from that instance where he heard me talking about abortion and what takes place and the fact that it's real, he was really kind of distraught by it. I don't know, distraught. He was moved by it. And I told him, I said, there is never a moment in my life where I'm not going to love you, where you need to come to me and make sure that I'm involved, Dad's involved. We love you. Bottom line. I think that's kind of what Bobert's doing. We'll be back for the 2 o'clock hour. Don't go away.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Frey, and Mark Reardon, along with Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group for the next Protecting Your Retirement educational event. It's Tuesday, March 21st at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Seats are limited, so go online to retirementkey.com. Here's Thomas with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired and sick of losing so much money in your retirement accounts? Did you know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your 401k tax-free and protect your nest egg from any more losses and still generate more income than most investment options? Would you like to know how linking to the market instead of owning the market is so much safer for your retirement nest egg? You'll get all the answers and more. If you're 59 and a half or older, you don't want to miss this event.
Protect your retirement nest egg. Join the official financial advisors of my show, Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw, Tuesday, March 21st at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Go online at retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studio, 97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
TheDiamondShop.net, that's where you go to shop for jewelry here in Clayton. It used to be in St. Louis, but now the fact that they're in Clayton gives you a nice, easy, convenient way to shop and to get to whatever it is that you're looking for. If your budget is small, if your budget is large, the Diamond Shop's going to help everybody. And here's when my husband and I have shopped individually at the Diamond Shop for each other, of course, we were able to go in and say, here are some things that I'm looking for. For instance, I was looking for a tie tack for my husband, and they said, you know what, that's going to put holes in his ties. Maybe think about a tie chain. And then they custom made one for me, and I was so grateful for it. It's something that he wears all the time. He loves it. It's personal to him, and I couldn't have done it without the Diamond Shop. So make sure that when you are looking for a great experience, a respectful atmosphere, wonderful customer service, that you work towards
promoting confidence in banks. I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News. President Biden today at the White House saying the nation's financial systems are sound following the collapse of 2 banks.
Americans can have confidence that the banking system is safe. Your deposits will be there when you need them.
Regulators closed Silicon Valley Bank on Friday after it experienced a traditional bank run where depositors rushed to withdraw their funds all at once. New York-based Signature Bank also failed. President Biden says no tax dollars will be used to cover any depositor losses, as the money will come from fees the banks pay into the Deposit Insurance Fund. Stock indexes are volatile amid the bank failures. The Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ currently in positive territory. California communities already affected by flooding are expecting more rain today. Fox Weather's Max Gordon is in Pajaro, California.
This additional storm just not what folks need here in Pajaro, California, after a levee breach flooded this community. The sheriff here says that around 2,000 people have been impacted, many of them now staying in shelters. Emergency responders had to go door to door, telling residents to get out. Officials here say there had been fears about this levee failing during the strong atmospheric river event back in late December and January, and while it held then, the heavy flow on the Pajaro River might have weakened it, and during this storm, it failed, and dozens of rescues had to be made.
Meantime, a strong storm system is expected to bring some of the heaviest snowfall of the season to areas in the nation's northeast. A port of entry in El Paso closed after hundreds of migrants attempted to cross a bridge into Texas at the same time yesterday.
There was a Facebook post going around telling migrants that if they showed up to the bridge yesterday and if they had children with them, they would be let into the United States. Masses of hundreds of migrants pushed past Mexican border guards and run onto the Paso del Norte bridge in El Paso.
Fox's Bill Malugin in Mission, Texas. America's listening to Fox News.
I'd rather ride a bike with my kids than ride in an ambulance.
I'd rather have a catch with my dog Curtis than catch pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with certain chronic conditions like heart disease, asthma, or diabetes, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20 pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Learn more at Prevnar20.com. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
That winter feel switch has been turned back on today. Partly to mostly cloudy skies this afternoon, windy and chilly. The actual high 41. That means temperatures this afternoon mainly in the 30s. Tonight, a hard freeze still on tap. Been talking about it for several days. Partly cloudy skies, light winds and cold 25. Tuesday, partly to mostly sunny, light winds and 45. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Hi, Chad Hansen from Hansen's Tree Service. Much like the human body, trees require a specific combination of nutrients to thrive. Our certified arborists can come to your property and prescribe the ideal treatment to ensure your trees and plants thrive this coming season. Check us out today at hansenstree.com and take advantage of our winter savings.
So shopping for flooring is a big investment, and when you are looking for flooring, you can kind of go into it with some flooring knowledge. I don't have any flooring knowledge until I go and start saying, okay, here's the space we want to cover, and this is the look we want to have. That's why when you walk into Michael's Flooring Outlet, or you can go online to igotfloored.com, you are going to be put into a position where you are going to be taken care of, which is so wonderful. If you're not 100% sure what you're doing and you just know the look you want to achieve, there are going to be different price points to achieve that look. And with those different price points comes different kinds of technology. Michael's will walk you through that whole process. And as a locally owned and operated family business, they have for decades been serving people exactly like you in your residential flooring needs and your commercial needs to make sure that you have the flooring solutions that are respectful of your budget. Michael's Flooring Outlet has multiple locations. You can visit them online right now to learn everything you need to know at igotfloored.com.
How might this week's big stories impact your portfolio? Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale with Stifel. Join me and fellow Stifel financial advisor Eric Robert during On the Money every Saturday from 11 till noon right here on 97.1 FM Talk. Stifel, member NYSE and SIPC.
When you have Rhino Shield on your house, it does a couple of things for you. It beautifies the house and it protects it from the harshest elements. And boy, do we see those here in the greater St. Louis area. You get instant curb appeal. It will stick to anything. Rhino Shield is the answer, no matter whether you're painting a home or a church or a business or a condo, because it's 100% waterproof. It takes care of the outdoor maintenance on whatever is on the outside of your home. The brick, the block, aluminum, steel, stucco. They can put this on with the 2 to 3 coat process. They're there about a week, and they do a great job. A lot of businesses have done it in the area. Several Firestones have done that. Vantage Credit Union over the years. Harlan Packaging down in DeSoto. Call Darren today and schedule your free estimate. 877-25-RHINO. Easy to remember phone number. Or go online today at 877-25-RHINO.
There are over 10,000 reasons why steel is not sold at Lowe's or the Home Depot. Find tools for the job site or your own backyard at over 10,000 authorized local steel dealers. Find yours at steelusa.com.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing, together millions of things for our planet. For spring cleaning, make your own cleaning products from baking soda and vinegar. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Big ideas, real debate, solid entertainment. You found it here.
St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
97.1 FM Talk.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
Welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. We appreciate you being with us here this afternoon. Today's YouTube live chat poll. You go to the YouTube channel, watch us, and say hi in the comments there. In the live chat section, we have a poll, and we want you to go vote and leave us your thoughts on it. Hannah's going to give us the results in the comments in the 2:45 segment. Do you believe the economy is headed for collapse? Yes or no? Give us your vote. Let us know what you think. We were discussing, and people are chatting about it right now in our live chat on YouTube, this story that came out, and I don't know how many people have talked about it or covered it, but New York Post posted last week that Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, she's 36 years old, she's 2 years younger than me, she's going to be a grandmother. And she announced this at an event that she was doing, a conservative group, Moms for America. She was hosting that event. And one of the things that she talked about in this, let me get to the bottom of this article here, because I thought this was interesting. It says, New York Post reports Boebert's announcement comes after she criticized American sex ed classes last week during a CPAC event, claiming that courses taught students about same-sex intercourse. Quote, there are schools that are teaching worse than just gender ideology. I mean, they have comprehensive sex ed. They're teaching kids how to have sex and enjoy it. I think that that's kind of an interesting point to make in this context. When you find out that Lauren Boebert, first of all, she had her child in her teens, I guess her son's named Tyler maybe, and he now and his girlfriend are having a baby, and Lauren Boebert's celebrating their decision to choose life and attributing that to their rural values. But Brad, when we have a lot of conversations right now culturally about what is being taught in our kids' classrooms, our sex ed when we grew up with it was about how are babies made.
Right.
How do we further creation?
It was very mechanical.
Yes. That's not what they're teaching not everywhere, but in a lot of classrooms. Kids are being instructed about the pleasure portion of it. That's not been the case before. Mm-mm. If you look at culture and society right now, can you really expect a 16, 17-year-old kid to not just think, this is what everybody's doing? Why would I not be doing it?
It was like that when I was 16 or 17. I don't see that it has gotten any better. So, yeah, absolutely. I don't know how you could look at a 16 or 17-year-old that doesn't know anything about it to look around and say, oh, well, this is what everybody's doing. Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. Yeah.
The influences that would keep you from doing what the world wants you to do is maybe the things that are not of this world, potentially religion, or maybe just a strong moral compass that your household may have, your parents may raise you with. But what do we value culturally that says that this isn't normal or to be celebrated even? What values do we collectively agree together that shouldn't look at something like this? And I'm not advocating for this. I'm posing the philosophical question that in today's society, it seems to me like the most celebrated, the most encouraged message is, what makes you happy?
That 100%. That is what it is. Do what you want, and that's it. Figure out what makes you happy and pursue that to its end.
That's new. That's not what I grew up with.
No.
That is counter to the 80s and the 90s.
It's almost like the next evolution of because the thing that I remember was to follow your dream. That was kind of like what the broad message was whenever I was in school. It's like, follow your dreams.
We had some parameters as to what could consist of a dream, though.
Yeah. Yeah, and it seems like it's the next evolution of that, And when you look at it, it hasn't led us to a better place because it's led us to be a lot more selfish as a society.
Is the left, I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen a lot of real news reports of people criticizing Lauren Boebert for this situation in her family. I see a lot of comments.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a politically hypocritical scenario that exists when Lauren Boebert celebrates the fact that her teenager is going to be a teen dad and she herself was a teen mom? Is there a hypocrisy there?
I think so. Yeah, I do. The minute I heard the story, I was like, well, this seems hypocritical to me for Lauren Boebert to be, and I didn't know exactly what she had said about sex ed curriculum or anything like that, but I know that she had been wanting gender ideology stuff not to be in schools. And these aren't exactly the same thing, but it does feel a little bit like practice what you preach. And somebody's going to make the case, well, maybe she was preaching this and he just didn't listen. Fine, she's embraced this now as a message of pro-life. I don't see anything wrong with that for sure. But I do think that this feels very hypocritical, or at least it undermines her messaging.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. And I think that comes from my time in youth ministry. I see parents, I've seen parents pour their absolute lives into their child. And when their child 17 years old, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know how, like, if she, and we don't know what she did behind closed doors. We don't know what she talked to him about and all that other stuff. I don't know how you can hold her responsible for what her 17-year-old, 1 year away from being a full-grown adult son, decided to do.
Yeah, what, Ryan, has Lauren Boebert advocated for that makes you feel like she's a hypocrite?
Well, I think wanting to keep sex as something that is talked about among adults, and then I think, as far as I know, this girl is 15, so it's not just that the boy's 17, but she's much younger. Mm-hmm. Then we're getting into territory that is even more dangerous, and it just, even if personally it makes sense for her because she said, well, here's my message, my son didn't listen, but she herself didn't follow that, and maybe she's said before, you know what, I was a teen mom, but I wish I would have done it a different way. I love my son, but I wish I would have done it a different way. It just seems to me that the messaging, if you're that passionate about it, you lose a little bit of the credibility of the message.
I don't understand what you're saying the message is.
The message being that sex in general should not be taught in schools.
I don't think that's been her message. Has it been her message?
Well, certainly gender ideology is sexual type curriculum, and she's against that. So I don't know if necessarily, I mean, somebody said that she has been teaching that she is against sexual curriculum in schools, or that you guys opened the segment talking about some story that somebody's reporting that.
Well, New York Post said that she had criticized American sex ed classes last week, claiming the courses taught students about same-sex intercourse. Her quote is, there are schools that are teaching worse than gender ideology. I mean, they have comprehensive sex ed. They're teaching kids how to have and enjoy sex, and even same-sex sex.
Yeah. So if you want to pin it down, I don't think necessarily she has a case to be made to say, I've been pretty consistent.
She's not saying that there shouldn't be an education in classrooms. She's saying that what we're calling education is not that, right?
That's kind of what I gathered when you read that quote the second time. That's what I gathered about it. That she's like, I think she's calling for sex ed to be something more akin to what we were talking about at the beginning of this segment.
The biological,
yeah,
which is kind of a hard conversation to have these days, because what is biology?
Yeah.
What is a woman? You need to know the answers to these questions in order to have the conversation. I think this is an interesting story just because you have to ask yourself, does Lauren Boebert represent the Republican Party? Well, she calls herself a Republican. Mm-hmm. What's the proper response from the Republican Party regarding Lauren Boebert's decision to proudly say, I'm going to be a grandma? Because you can't undo what's been done.
Right.
The 17 and the 15-year-old thing, I mean, it's all, to me, it's all a tragedy. It's all tragic to look at the lives of these children who will now bear children, and to understand that those lives are forever changed. But these people are choosing to go through with this pregnancy and to have this baby, and this baby is going to live because they've made this choice to deal with the natural consequences of their actions. Whereas there are a lot of people, and I'm sure children of Republicans and Democrats alike in elected positions all over the place, who are faced with this same circumstance and taking what is perceived as the easy way out, which is to get rid of the baby. Mm-hmm. And then it's nobody's business.
That makes me feel like this is actually more intellectually consistent with her ideology. It kind of blows a hole in the argument that the those on the pro-choice side will make. That's like, well, actually, Republicans and people who are pro-life are actually, they secretly get abortions and they just don't tell anybody and they hide it from people. And
Some do.
Some do.
But not in this instance.
Not in this instance. And it sounds to me like, I don't know, maybe there's something positive to celebrating the life of the baby, because even in this horrible circumstance, the baby still is the blessing. It's still a child. It's still a human being. And there's something important about it. And there's something about that to be celebrated.
I think that this is a story that is probably uncomfortable for Republicans to talk about because, the fact that her son is 17, the girlfriend, mother-to-be, is 15. That's bad. And the idea exists. I mean, good grief, folks. The state of Illinois, you can be younger than that and have an abortion, and they don't even care if you tell your parents. In fact, they probably encourage you not to.
Mm-hmm.
It's very naive to assume, gasp, that this happened to the Boeberts, to a Republican. This is not a partisan situation. It's not a partisan scenario. They're choosing life, and I think to be consistent with pro-life beliefs, that you have to understand that Lauren Boebert has to make a decision here. What is she going to do? It's not like people aren't going to know that Lauren Boebert is a 36-year-old grandma. And politically, that just throws itself out there to be, dissected and digested by people who are winning political points to try to defame Lauren Boebert, to try to remind everybody, oh, did you know that Lauren Boebert didn't graduate high school? Do you know why she didn't graduate high school? Because she got pregnant when she was a senior and she chose to have the baby. She got her GED. That's the type of person we should be hugging and thanking for making that difficult choice. That, too, pro-lifers, is why you have to acknowledge the fact that women bear much, much, much larger responsibility in the action of having sex. It's just the truth. Women just have more responsibility and consequence that falls on them that doesn't fall on men, which is why if the pro-life movement's message is to tell her to keep her legs crossed, I will come at you for that type of mentality. Because that conversation doesn't put any responsibility on the man. It's like if she would just have done that, then this wouldn't have happened. Shut up. I can't even. That's a phrase I hate. But I can't even. So if you take Lauren Boebert, somebody who was a teen mom herself, who has now raised somebody who's going to be a teen dad himself, there's no way to take this situation politically and put it out in the open and wrap it up with a nice little bow to be like, and this is how the story happily ends. It doesn't have that pretty refined and polished ending. But maybe the truth is that most scenarios don't have that refined, polished ending. We just have a way of putting them out into political conversation and making them look that way. Because I'll tell you what, I've got 4 kids myself. I had a miscarriage in the middle there. I went through some struggles with that. I've had other issues. I've had to have an ovary taken out and emergency surgery before my first daughter was born. I mean, I've gone through some things. We've had some struggles. We have, when we were pregnant with my son, my husband decided to switch careers because he was a TV, radio, mass comm degree earner that didn't provide a job. He decided to go back to school to be a teacher. We had no money and we were raising kids. It wasn't pretty, but we went through it. It's like there's this idealistic version out there of what life in the world is supposed to be. And if your story doesn't fit into that, in politics, that becomes an opportunity for your opponent, whatever side of the aisle, to dunk on. But if conservatives, if pro-lifers aren't willing to talk about what's going on with Lauren Boebert and go, yeah, this is the reality of this situation, and this sucks, and these situations are hard, and this young 15-year-old girl who's now in the political spotlight because she slept with Lauren Boebert's son and is choosing to have this baby, what are you supposed to do with that? I think the end result here is that what you're supposed to do with that isn't going to make you feel good about it in the end. You're not going to resolve this in a way that makes you go, well, this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. Everything is imperfect, but you just take the scenario that's in front of you and do the next right thing.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that that's not what's happening here.
Yeah. That you hit the nail on the head. There are scenarios in life, and people think that there aren't, but there are scenarios in life where there's no good answer.
Yeah, and to that end, I actually do applaud. I mean, even in my criticism of it, I acknowledge, as far as the pro-life message goes here and handling a potential life, they've done the right thing, and they're saying the right thing, and that actually is consistent with their messaging. So I do applaud them on that front.
And, just like when we've talked about to kind of shift the issue, but same kind of mentality, your First Amendment rights, sometimes you are going to have to stand up and speak on something because you're compelled to, and you have the right to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Your freedom of speech may still have consequences. You're not consequence-free when you speak your mind. Should you not speak your mind because of that? Should you just keep quiet and make it so it's not anybody else's business? It's totally your choice. When you're young and I would, if it were my child, I'd say you made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are. What do we do next? The pro-life movement has to start understanding that these scenarios happen and that those women need to understand that their mistakes are going to be met with grace and mercy, compassion, forgiveness, and help. And if you can't do that, if your pro-lifeness is just based in judgment, that's no different than the people who are pro-choice or even pro-abortion. Anyway, love to know what your thoughts are on it. You can leave them in the comments on the Annie Frey YouTube channel. Go vote as well in the YouTube live chat poll. Let's talk about this when we come back. Do you believe the economy is headed for collapse? Yes or no? Your thoughts in the comments. Hannah's going to set the good ones aside. You got to get on Hannah's good side. Make a good comment. She'll star it, and we will read some of them in the 2:45 segment. Stick around. More Annie Frey Show in a minute.
This is how you remind me of what I really am. This is how you remind me of what I really am. It's not like you to say sorry. I was waiting on a different.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show.
I'm mistaken for letting you a heart worth breaking, and I've been wrong. I've been down into the.
So, looking for a home on the Illinois side of the river, somebody who specializes in the Edwardsville, Glen Carbon, Maryville, Troy, Collinsville area. Jen Teskey, that's who you are looking for. I love her. I am so excited to be partnering with her. She is a strong supporter of this show and of 97.1, and she's the person you need to get the job done, buying or selling on the Illinois side of the road. Jen Teskey is going to be your asset, your team leader to getting the job done. She's with RE/MAX Alliance. You can call her or text her at 618-541-1010. That's 618-541-1010. You are going to have access to her entire team, the people who are experts when it comes to helping you stage your home and photographing your home and listing your home and making sure that your absolute best foot is forward. This also is great to access right now, 618-541-1010. If you're thinking about selling in the future, you don't have to be calling her and saying, list my house today, list it yesterday. If you're 3 months out, 6 months out, a year out, start the conversation now. She will love taking your phone call. Mention the Annie Frey Show when you give her a call or a text. 618-541-1010. That's 618-541-1010.
Hey guys, I'm David Spade. Applause.
I'm Dana Carvey. Are we the host of something?
Oh, Fly on the Wall. Mm-hmm. No, Dana, and I would never say this, one of Apple, Spotify, and Amazon's top podcasts of 2022. I'm just reading that. I would never say that.
We both got our break on a little thing called Saturday Night Live.
Each week we sit down with friends of the show and share stories and BS about the good old days of SNL. You can find Fly on the Wall, a presentation of Cadence 13, on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
So buying jewelry is all about trusting the person that you're buying it from and making sure that you believe that the person you're working with has that knowledge, experience to make sure that they can guide you through that whole purchase. That's the Diamond Shop. They're in Clayton right now. You can go visit them in their store. They are so well versed in the business of jewelry. They've been doing it forever. 1910. This is a family-owned and operated business that is there to serve you in your time of need, some might say. If you're making a big purchase, like a ring purchase to pop the question or something, you can go through that process with the Diamond Shop. They're going to ask you about your budget. They're going to sit down and talk to you about what you're looking for, what she's like, what she might like, and help usher you through that entire process. Did I mention that they have 6 months, same as cash? For some of those higher dollar purchases that maybe you want to make a few payments on, 6 months, same as cash is about as good as it gets. They also have the ability to do custom jewelry. So if they don't have in stock, and they've got a ton of beautiful, beautiful pieces in stock, they can help customize something exactly, especially for the needs of what you are looking for. Reach out to them and talk to them about becoming a VIP. You can do so on the diamondshop.net. They have a VIP program that gets you special discounts, access to special merchandise. They also do custom jewelry and watch repair, appraisals. They buy gold. It's all at the Diamond Shop in Clayton, online at thediamondshop.net. Thediamondshop.net.
With inflation on the rise, you may be charging more to your credit card. But be careful. That increased debt can cause your credit score to suffer.
Don't get stuck with a low credit score and a mountain of high-interest credit card debt. Call Golden Oak Lending now.
Refinance with our low rates to wipe out your high-interest credit card debt and put extra cash in your pocket. Call 314-567-GOLD.
Golden Oak Landing cured my blues.
NMLS 114937.
If you own a small business, you know the value of time. GetRefunds.com does too. That's why they've made it easy, no matter how busy you are, to apply for the Employee Retention Credit, or ERC. Go to Refunds.com to get started, and in less than 8 minutes, see if your business qualifies for ERC assistance. Your business may be eligible for a payroll tax refund of up to $26,000 per employee kept on payroll during COVID-19. GetRefunds.com has already helped clients claim over $3 billion in payroll tax refunds through the ERC, and they may be able to help your business too. There's no upfront charge either. They don't get paid until your business gets its refund. Many businesses believe they won't qualify based on incomplete or outdated information. So don't let this opportunity pass you by, because this payroll tax refund is only available for a limited time. Go to GetRefunds.com. That's GetRefunds.com.
With the Wholesale Formula Seminar, discover how to start your own Amazon business.
This is Nick Chouquette. I lost a lot of money on a failed landscaping business and had to move in with my dad. After attending the Wholesale Formula Seminar, I went from having no job to $1 million in revenue on Amazon just 2 years later.
Hi, it's Emric Manello. When I first immigrated to the United States, I had no idea how I was going to earn a living. I attended the Wholesale Formula Seminar, and my first year on Amazon, I did over $700,000 in sales.
Whether you have a business and want to sell more on Amazon, retired, or just need extra money, America's Amazon expert Dylan Frost will show you how for only $49.99 guaranteed or your money back. That's right, Frost's seminar attendees generated over $1 billion, or to be clear, over 1,000 million in sales on Amazon. Attend Dylan Frost's The Wholesale Formula 2-hour seminar Tuesday, March 28th at 2 p.m. for the greater St. Louis area. Register at thewholesaleformula.com.
97.1 FM Talk. You're here, which means you've made at least one great decision today. St. Louis's home for conservative talk. This is 97.1 FM Talk.
Carry on my wayward son.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
Lay your weary
Interact with Annie on Facebook. The Annie Frey Show.
Welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. Appreciate you being here with us. Reminder, you can subscribe to the Annie Frey Show podcast, wherever you get podcasts from. Go check them out. Today's YouTube live chat poll, the Annie Frey YouTube channel. Do you believe the economy is headed for collapse? Ryan, what do you think? Yes or no?
I'm going to say no. I think that some of these actions that the Fed have taken, I don't like, or I should say the Treasury has taken. I don't like them, but they will delay full collapse.
Delay?
So I think, yeah. Well, I mean, at some point, the way we're going, and this might not even be in our lifetime, it could be next week. I don't know. But we can't sustain the amount of debt that we're taking on. We are the international reserve currency, so right now we're probably okay. But that's changing, and that will change in our lifetime. So I think that at some point we're going to have to pay the piper.
What do you think, Brad?
Well, I guess it just really depends on how you define collapse. I think we're heading toward recession. I think we could head toward a depression if we don't kind of change what we're doing, to Ryan's point. So I think, yes, I think at some point the economy will collapse, but I don't think collapse is in like completely implode and never be a functional economy ever again.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, I'm not, that's not how I'm defining collapse, but I think that to say that we'll probably end up in a recession and a depression, absolutely, I think it will.
I agree.
You agree?
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying yes?
Yeah, I'm a yes.
You're a yes.
Yep.
Hannah's a yes. Brian's a no. I think we are, because it's kind of what I was discussing with Charles Gasparino. If you didn't get to hear that interview on the Odyssey app, you can rewind about 125. Really nice, quick hit with him, very concise, straight to the point about the things that are taking place in our economy right now, what needs to be done. And my question to him is, okay, well, you've articulated several different things that need to be put into place that could stop where we're headed from being as bad as it seems like it's heading to be. We got those people in place that are going to make those decisions. The answer right now is no. He referred to it as the B team, which might be generous when it comes to who's making the decisions for us economically. I mean, it seems as though I referred to it as indulgent earlier in the show, and I'm going to use that term again. The indulgence of the people who are in charge right now, who are on the left. It's kind of like you've got to have your A-team issues. And these are the issues that have a way of making themselves the leading issue. And you may not even like the fact that it's the leading issue. Foreign policy is one of them. Your national defense is one of them. There is a Fox Business article, news alert, that just came out earlier today. The Pentagon announced its largest ever budget request on Monday, calling on Congress to provide it with $842 billion for the next year. It's a 3.2% increase over the last fiscal year and a 13.4% increase over the year before that. Defense Department Deputy Secretary Kathleen Hick announced the budget request in a Monday briefing, citing the, quote, seriousness of the threats posed by Russia and China. So that is an evolving thing. We have policies in place. We are handling our business across the globe in a certain way that says that in 2 years' time, we need a 13.4% increase in our military spending, in our budgeting. So you get to make decisions when you have the power of the Oval Office, of Congress. You get to make decisions that affect how things cost. The economy is one of those issues that can thrust itself into the forefront, and all of a sudden it is the predominant issue for the next election. Foreign policy has a way of doing that. Healthcare or protecting your freedom when it comes to pandemics can do the same thing. I actually look at where we are right now and wonder which of these issues is the forefront issue. I mean, of course we can figure out ways to juggle more than one ball at a time. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. But in the instance where we are looking right now at the possible collapse of banks within our own country, an increased threat with China and Russia, war in Ukraine that we're funding against Russia, a drunk at the wheel North Korea, questions about a lot of things that are going on in Africa that nobody really even talks about in the forefront. You got to ask yourself, what is What's the issue of the 2024 election? Ryan, is there what's the one that stands out for you?
To me, it has to be economic. I just don't see us getting now. In light of the poll question, even though I said no to economic collapse, this administration has set itself up so poorly. Here's how bad they are at doing the economy. Normally, politicians are very good at setting at least themselves up for success, even if it's at the cost of everybody else. They have actually set themselves up for failure because the timing of this recession, and it could get pretty deep pretty fast, is going to be pretty much in line with the next election. We're not going to bounce down and back up by the next election. If anything, we'll be low or lower by then. So in that sense, we're talking about people, like you said, that are, the phrase drunk at the wheel. They don't know what they're doing in terms of the economy. And it will manifest itself in one way or the other as, I think, the number one issue of 2024.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's economic. I mean, unless whatever happens in Ukraine pops off and everything goes crazy, it's going to be the economy. It's always the economy. And the thing about it is you've got to, before you can take care of any foreign policy, before you can take care of anything else going on, it's like when you're in an airplane and the masks come down. You've got to put your mask on before you can help somebody else. We have to take care of our own economy and our own people before we can then go on to help the rest of the world. And right now, we're drowning. I mean, that wage is flat. That thing is killer whenever you combine it with the interest rate. People are hurting.
I don't understand how this administration can continue going down the road they're going. A $6.8 trillion with massive tax increases that are absolutely going to affect you and me. I just don't understand what the outcome, the desired outcome is intended to be, unless there is a desired outcome of a collapse that allows a reorganization of how we do things here. You said it before. You taught economics as a substitute teacher, and you were teaching basic economics.
This is whenever I was actually a full-on teacher. Yeah.
Economics.
Basic economics.
There are basic economic things that are being taught in school, high school.
Yep.
Seniors? Junior, seniors?
Yeah, juniors and seniors.
I took economics as a senior. Basic economics. There are things that we're not following.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the best example I can give is the stimulus money. And it's not just that we borrowed money. We didn't have the money to borrow, so we printed the money and then borrowed it from the Fed. And whenever you create more money, you dilute the value. The best example I saw, literal example that I saw was Thomas Massey was speaking about how this works, and he took a glass of tea that had just maybe a little bit left in the bottom, and he took a full glass of water, and he dumped that into the tea. And he's like, this may look like tea, but if you drank it, it's not going to taste like tea. The tea that was in the bottom that was the correct strength is now incredibly weak because we've dumped so much more water into it. And that's what we've done by dumping money into the economy. We've weakened the value and the strength of the dollar because there's just more dollars. And that's the basic supply and demand. We have a greater supply of money, so the demand isn't there. So you have to throw more money at it to get what you want.
Yeah, this administration is a hedge fund kid. You know, they
don't understand.
They've grown up never really worrying about money, never had to use money properly, and now all their policies are based on just spending more money to make friends.
Before we take a break here, I want to update you on a situation. As we have seen this one officer in Herman, Missouri, lost his life yesterday. This is a Fox News report. Missouri police officer is dead, one other is injured, and law enforcement is currently searching for the man they say is responsible. Herman Police Department Detective Sergeant Mason Griffith and another officer were shot before 9:20 p.m. last night outside a general store in Herman. The shooting prompted a blue alert from Missouri State Highway Patrol, which was asked to investigate. MSHP identified Kenneth Lee Simpson, 35, as the shooter, and a spokesman told Fox News Digital he fled the scene on foot. Investigators got information that led them to believe Simpson barricaded himself inside a home just across the street from where the shooting took place, but it has not been confirmed that he's inside. Quote, "Come out with your hands up and nothing will happen to you," could be heard over a bullhorn outside the home. A source told KMOV TV one of the officers was shot in the head and the other in the chest. Both were flown to a hospital. So it appears as though that they are in active pursuit of this person who shot these police officers. And I'm just going to personally ask for your prayers right now that they find this person and bring him to justice very quickly. And also to pray for the families of those officers that were shot. So let's take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get the results of the YouTube poll. Make sure you get in there and vote. Annie Frey YouTube channel, the live chat portion. Please go give us your vote, your thoughts. We'll be back in a minute.
Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more.
You're listening to The Annie Frey Show. Interact with Annie on Facebook. The Annie Frey Show.
Thomas Helbig, the Retirement Advisor Group, along with Bob Kershaw, Tammy Kershaw, inviting you to the next Protecting Your Retirement educational event. I want you to sign up for this and reserve your spot. Spots do get filled up and they do sell out. So make sure that you are reserving it for March 21st. It's 314-993-9494, 314-993-9494. And you're going to be able to sit down and listen to, it's like not even, it may be about 45 minutes of Thomas Helbig talking about what he does. When you learn about how you can protect your retirement, you're going to have a worry-free retirement. You're going to be able to exhale when you have shifted from that save, and sacrifice to, hey, I'm going to actually get to use this retirement and it's going to be there when I need it, how I need it. I really want you to consider coming to this event. It's free. I'd really love the opportunity to meet you. Mark Cox will be there. Mark Reardon will be there as well. And we love the opportunity to shake your hand and get to know some of you guys a little bit better. Reach out to them and reserve your spot today. 314-993-9494. 314-993-9494. You can find them online at retirementkey.com.
Hey guys, Glover here with my very, very good friend, Dr. Kathy Maupin at biobalancehealth.com. If you have reached that certain age and you're just not feeling very well and nothing's working the way it used to work, go see Dr. Kathy. She is not only a medical doctor, she is a patient of this bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. It absolutely works. It's a long-term solution. She is an artist when it comes to helping you with your hormones. Biobalancehealth.com for Dr. Kathy Maupin.
If you want to see better in the new year, there's no better time to call Brenton Vision than right now. Mark Cox here. My friends at Brenton have everything you need to get the crisp, clear vision you've always wanted. Call them at 314-375-2020 or go online today to brentonvision.com. They are the only team in Missouri to perform all 7 FDA-approved forms of vision correction. That includes modern LASIK, permanent contact lenses, and if you have bad reading vision, they even have treatments for you too. So stop throwing your money away. My wife got lens replacement. She sees perfectly these days, and she loves it. Quit putting it off. If it's standing in your way of achieving your goals and your resolutions, Brenton Vision is here to help. Call them today at 314-375-2020. Tell them you heard Mark Cox talking about it. That's 314-375-2020. Or schedule right now at brentonvision.com.
Do you ever get the feeling that the world is being held together with duct tape? Every day we're thrown some new meaningless drama in the fake news to distract us from the reality we're all about to face. Between the government trying to print their way out of debt, military conflicts, the disintegration of our most trusted institutions, and a looming food shortage, preparedness is no longer a choice. It's a necessity. You can trust My Patriot Supply. Our emergency food kits come packed with tasty meals averaging over 2,000 calories per day. Get at least one kit for each person in your family. Self-reliance is the only alternative to government food lines. Time is running out. Become ungovernable. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com and save on dozens of different emergency food kits while you can. These kits are in stock, ship fast, and arrive in unmarked boxes for your privacy. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com before the next crisis strikes. MyPatriotSupply.com.
Annie Frey here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friend Thomas Helbig with the Retirement Advisory Group at 314-993-9494. He'll show you strategies on how to participate in the market gains without ever losing a penny. Thomas is the official financial advisor of The Annie Frey Show. You're listening to The Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Warmer days are coming. Time to schedule your annual AC system check for as little as $15 a month. For any residential or commercial HVAC services, visit aircomfortservice.com.
St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
The Mark Reardon Show.
Friday afternoon, it's another Fish Fry Friday. We are live in Eureka at Most Sacred Heart Catholic Church for 3 hours. Come join us.
Weekdays from 3 to 6 on 97.1 FM Talk. This is the Annie Frey Show. Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Frey Show.
Needless to say, I keep a check. She was a bad bad, nevertheless. Calling it quits now, baby, I'm a wreck.
Welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. We were talking before we took that last break about the officers in Herman that were shot. Just a really tragic story. And we had gotten the news, and I was getting messages from people saying that they had gotten the guy. Here's the Fox 2 Now story saying the man accused of killing one Herman, Missouri police officer and wounding another has been taken into custody. So they did get him. He is in custody. And most of the things I want to say about him, I can't because of the FCC. It's just incredibly frustrating. And this shooter has a long criminal history, a lot of drug problems, and I just hope that they can throw the full force of the law at him and he can have his day at court and then he can rot in a prison cell. If not, maybe I just think that the death penalty for shooting a cop is an easy one for me. Let's do the YouTube poll. Let's get that out of the way here real quick. People can still vote until we end the show, but Hannah, why don't you take it over and tell us how it's going so far?
All right. Today's YouTube poll is asking, do you believe the economy is heading for collapse? Yes or no? I'll read some comments before I give you the results. Joe from YouTube said, believing that the economy is not headed for a collapse defines common sense. Scooter says... Defies common sense, just to make sure, because defies actually. That's okay. It just changes the context of the... Scooter says, I don't believe the U.S. economy is headed for collapse unless employment numbers significantly increase or Republicans force us into default by refusing to increase the debt ceiling. Sheepdog said, I voted no because I don't think the Democrats will allow the economy to collapse this close to the presidential election. Policies are beginning to get a little more moderate. That might also have to do with the fact that the Republicans control half the House, or half Congress.
Right.
House. Hunter first says, inflation is still sky high. The only way to correct that is to have an economic slowdown. I guess I will vote no because I don't think the economy will collapse. Vicky says, I think we are closer to the collapse than anyone knows. Kurt Voss from YouTube said, I don't know if the economy will collapse, but will continue to seriously decline. Info Dude said, collapse is an awfully big word, but I still voted yes.
Yikes. That's icky. I hope that people are paying attention to what's going on. I don't think this is something that a lot of people in the mainstream, you're not delving into politics and news and stuff. It's boring for people. I don't know when these stories become big enough that they bring in, that they get the attention of the people who don't pay a lot of attention to it. There's a lot of distractions out there right now. I'm going to talk about a few of them, and then at the end, we'll get to the results, Hannah. So go vote right now, yes or no, if you think that the economy is headed for collapse. In the Annie Frey YouTube channel, the poll is located in the live chat of today's live video. We had a really great football weekend here in St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean, it's surreal, man. Just growing up here in St. Louis, having this opportunity to come back here and play in front of these fans, man, they never deserve to get this taken away from them. This city, these fans, they're some of the best in the country, and to get this team taken away from this city, man, they deserve to have us here, and we want to put on a show for them and, it's so cool to just come back here and be in this locker room again.
So Austin Prohl there talking about the Battlehawks, and I think he's talking about two different things. And I'd be curious if I had the opportunity to talk to him for him to clarify. Was he talking about the Battlehawks being taken away, or was he talking about what everybody just assumes is the Rams? Because the Battlehawks were very successful in St. Louis, and then COVID and XFL went gone, and then they came back. And so I think that at the second portion of what he's talking about, he's referring to the Battlehawks. But when he's talking about being a kid in St. Louis,
Yeah.
he's talking about how this is a football city.
Right. And if you recognize his last name,
Austin Prohl.
He is the son of Ricky Prohl, who is also the receivers coach on the Battlehawks. So that's always fun to watch dad and son, relate.
Yeah,
But
Ricky Prohl has a very special place in the hearts of St. Louis football
Ricky
fans.
Prohl made the catch that sent the Rams to the Super Bowl against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I will never forget that catch.
Yep, I can see it. Look like this.
He was fun to watch. He was just one of those spark plug players.
But the thing I remember about Ricky Prohl was the first down. He did they all had all their celebrations, but Ricky Prohl would catch the ball. He was the possession receiver. He would get just past the first down marker. He would catch the ball, and then he would be like, first down.
Yeah,
and that was it.
I could see that too in my head. The 38,000 plus people showed up to watch the XFL Battlehawks play in St. Louis.
That's amazing.
I was getting texts all weekend from people who don't even live here anymore saying St. Louis is in national news. Now they're St. Louis sports fans, so I guess they were paying a little more attention. But people in Minnesota and Georgia were texting me going, what is up with the XFL in St. Louis?
Well, The Rock was tweeting about it, but The Rock is part owner of...
He has a financial stake in the success of football in St. Louis.
What'd they call it, a spring football attendance record?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the XFL record, which was previously owned by the 2020 St. Louis Battlehawks.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is the thing, and I put this out on Twitter last night because Barstool Sports, who I follow, love them or hate them, whatever, they tweeted out the attendance and the view of what it looked like for XFL football in the dome that was unlivable, according to what they said years ago. Football is being played in there. It wasn't, listen, people would love that dome if the football didn't suck and if they didn't sabotage the whole thing a la Major League Cleveland Indians. Yeah, I said Indians. The football sucked.
Yeah.
You have time to peer around the dome and go, this place might kind of feel like a dump because the product on the field was a dump. It turned out that was purposeful too. But I look at what success the Battlehawks are having in St. Louis. I will not believe anybody who says that isn't in part a middle finger to the NFL to say, see?
That is a huge chunk of that.
And that means there's still a thirst for it. Does that mean if the NFL came to St. Louis and said, we'd like to do an expansion team here, would St. Louis take it? You know what? I'm going to be honest. I hope we would entertain the conversation, but we'd have to say, give us the freaking moon. Because what the NFL did to St. Louis, it's not about football. It's about integrity. It's about what they did to a city. They sabotaged a team that was here. And then they blamed it on the people that were here that were supporting their crap product that they were putting on the field. And they said it was us. Like, how am I not supposed to take that personally? Because I was there with my dad in the stands. He was a PSL holder and a season ticket holder, watching these horrible football teams that came up with new ways to lose every week. You think that the people who are there cheering on the Battlehawks aren't there sending a clear message to the NFL? They absolutely are. Should the NFL come back to St. Louis? I think they should, but they should give us the freaking moon. We'll be the St. Louis astronauts. We own your astronaut.
With a local owner or a local ownership group. That's what I want to see. Somebody who's passionate about
Make
this
it like
place.
the Green Bay Packers.
Yes.
Make it so that we can buy shares
Yes.
in it, and it doesn't get to be owned by, I don't even know how that works. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I don't care what I'm talking about. This is only a matter of the heart. This is not a matter of the brain. That's why I'm so angry about it. Caw. You want to do the poll?
Yes. Do you believe that the economy is headed for a collapse? Yes or no? With 100
Onto a lighter note.
With 178 votes, 75% of the people said yes.
Okay.
25% of the people said no.
Yeah, that's not looking good, folks.
No, this is not a good place to be right here in the United States right now in this economy.
My goal for tomorrow is to feel better than I did today. But this stupid cold is kicking my butt. I'm curious if you've had the same type of issues. Follow me on Twitter and tell me if you have had this cold that won't go away. It's not COVID. I keep testing. It's not COVID. At Annie Frey Show, tweet me and tell me what I'm supposed to do. The Mark Reardon Show coming up next.
Much. You try and change me, you can go back to doing what I love and more. Thanks to the Good Feet Store.
Hi, this is Arnold, owner of the Good Feet Store. Do you have a hard time getting out of bed in the morning because of a